All right, guys. Today we have Nvidia earnings, massive report. Let's take a look at the stock right now. Slightly down. It's had like a downfall over the past couple days, but they're supposed to debut a lot of different things today. So I think it could go either way with the earnings. Obviously, I want Nvidia to go up. I think Nvidia kind of influences the Nasdaq really, really heavily. The Nasdaq has been on a pullback. And it's time. Yep, we are live. Let me know how the sound is. Sound should be good. I don't really hear anything. Hold on. Dude, how in the world are these connected right now? All right, so we're getting our actual headphones hooked up. And look at the Nasdaq dip down. Nvidia at 129.20s or so. There we go. All right, guys. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. So Nvidia today specifically, this is like the Super Bowl of the stock market, really. Nvidia is expecting 84 cents a share on 37.72 billion in revenue. I'll put this up on screen. $0.84 EPS, and this is an increase. We looked at this last week on 37.72 and rev. Live after 4 p.m. is when this is coming out. Technically, it's scheduled for 4:20. They can really release it anytime. So I'll put this up on screen as well here. There's the numbers right there if you want to see what what we're expecting today for this. Yeah, the market's definitely been bloody lately for sure. Nasdaq down, red. Microsoft slightly green, but it dropped a lot yesterday. Tesla Tesla all the way down to 290s a share. Google down to 170s. SPY at 593s. Netflix at 980s, under 1,000. So yeah, just looking really bloody out there for stocks. I'm sure a lot of these are going to bounce back. We also have Snowflake, Salesforce, C3 AI, IONQ, Marathon Digital, so Mara crypto. We got a lot of stuff dropping after the bell today. It's going to be chaotic, but yeah, we'll be ready for it. All right, guys, so we're going to hype this up, talk about what we need to watch today for Nvidia earnings. So Nvidia poised to release quarter 4 fiscal year 25 earnings after market closes. It's the leader in AI graphics processing units. Their performance is a bellwether for the tech industry and expectations are soaring. Analysts are forecasting a remarkable 73% year-over-year increase in revenue, projecting it to reach $38.32 billion for quarter 4 fiscal 2025. This surpasses their own guidance from the previous quarter, which was at about $37.5 billion. Net income is expected to climb to $21.08 billion, up from $12.84 billion in the same period last year. It underscores their growth trajectory and their dominance in AI and GPU. Investor sentiment is mostly positive for Nvidia earnings, heading into the end of the day today at the closing bell. Nvidia stock is at 130 roughly, up about 2.7% from where it closed yesterday, although it did close pretty rough yesterday. It's still a little bit low, but option market is pricing in a potential 10% move from Nvidia earnings. So yeah, options market is looking at about a 10% move. It could translate to about a $300 billion shift in market value. It kind of shows how much weight Nvidia carries here, because this is obviously just freaking massive. It drops after 4 p.m. All right, so we got a poll going live. Does Nvidia beat or miss their Q4 earnings? Catalyst for Nvidia's growth is escalating demand for AI infrastructure. Meta projected to invest $65 billion in AI data centers in 2025, a substantial increase from the roughly $40 billion in the previous year. Google anticipating capex of about $75 billion. A lot of that's going to be for AI. Amazon.com allocating over $100 billion towards AI advancements. All of this stuff is making AI like incredibly hyped up right now. A lot of people are watching for AI and what that means for everything. Analyst community remains bullish though. Consensus price target of 175 suggests a potential 26% upside from current trading levels. I doubt it's going to hit 175 today. I don't know. They must not. This is future outlook. So a lot of people have ratings at 175. Optimism fueled by anticipated success of Blackwell, their big chip, expected to contribute significantly to Q4 revenues. Additionally, the upcoming GTC conference next month in March is poised to showcase their latest innovations, potentially serving as a catalyst for further stock appreciation. We are going to cover GTC. We covered it last year. They're going to debut a lot of their stuff. Last year, they talked about the Blackwell chip. This year, they're going to talk about some more stuff. And it's pretty relevant to watch. You want to pay attention to it. There are some competition questions regarding Nvidia. Obviously DeepSeek tanked the market a month or so ago. China's DeepSeek AI model, it claims to achieve comparable performance with reduced computing power. Industry experts believe Nvidia's market position still remains strong, though the company's continuous innovations and strategic partnerships are expected to mitigate the competitive threats of stuff like DeepSeek. But we'll have to see what they say during this quarter earnings call. We'll see how the market responds to it. I think it's a really important aspect to it. So again, they're unveiling Q4 earnings, convergence of record-breaking financial projections, robust market demand, unwavering analyst confidence. Investors and industry watchers, or a lot of people are going to be watching this. Nvidia has been moving the NASDAQ heavily over the past few years just because it's the biggest, most heavily influencing stock in the market, I'll say. It's not the most heavily weighted. Apple's the most heavily weighted stock in the market, but I would say people are watching Nvidia more than any other stock to gauge what the market does. And so, yeah, it's just an important thing to watch today. We'll see what happens. Let me know. Again, vote on the poll right now. Beat, miss. Let me know what you guys think there. People expecting a crash. I don't know, man. We'll see. Yeah, this is at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me get a timer up. Everybody was begging for a timer this morning. Let me put one up now. Again, the earnings call is going to be at 5 p.m. We're going to cover it live like we always do. Hey, you told me to call you. All right, love you, bye. All right, yeah, we got about 50 minutes left until the closing bell, so that's the timer I'm going to put up. And technically it's scheduled for 4:20, but honestly, they could release it anytime after the freaking closing bell. They really could. So I'm not going to be too strict with this timer. I think, again, they could release it freaking anytime after the closing bell. And it's important to understand that, like, technically companies schedule times, but they could drop this freaking whenever. Nobody knows. So I'm going to set this for the closing bell today. And in that regard, we got about 50 minutes left. 50 minutes left. We'll plug that right there. All right, so here's some stuff to watch around this earnings report. A couple things to watch. Again, Nvidia expecting an increase of about 75%. 38.8 billion is what they're expecting. 86-cent EPS, 66% rise. Again, a lot of big tech companies are doing a lot of capex, capital expenditures, increasing their AI, spending. That's something that's incredibly obvious right now, considering everything going on. Key factors to watch: Blackwell GPU. The transition to the new Blackwell chip family is crucial. Initial shipments have begun. Production issues or delays could impact Nvidia's short-term performance. At the same time, though, most analysts are still pretty optimistic around everything today. But that's something that you want to listen for. So, like, when they release their earnings, we'll see the statement they posted. We'll read it all live like we always do. We'll cover this all live like we always do. And we'll try to dig deeper and figure out, like, what all of this means for Nvidia. DeepSeek competition's the other question that you want to pay attention to, not just in the call, but also in their statements from their earnings, what their numbers are. All of that stuff is relevant. Again, DeepSeek's AI model claims to achieve comparable performance with much reduced computing power, which would render the need for super powerful chips, I'm not going to say more obsolete, but it would render them less needed for these big Nvidia chips, right? And so that's why the DeepSeek news everybody panicked when the DeepSeek news got out, because essentially DeepSeek claimed to be able to achieve similar performance to something like ChatGPT with it was 80 or 90% less chip power. Now, it hasn't really been tested as much, and it's really hard to get access to. And so take it with a grain of salt. But that statement that DeepSeek was able to basically do what GPT did without the chips, that tanked the market. And it is something that, most people that are watching AI, you want to pay attention to this. This is incredibly relevant. It's going to dictate whether we need these big, powerful chips that Nvidia is producing. Because if we can get the same results for less chips, then they're going to go with the more efficient route, if that makes sense. So it's important to watch. Forward guidance, obviously one of the biggest talking points in earnings. Again, forward guidance for the first quarter, fiscal year 26, projecting nearly 42 billion in revenue. Any deviation from this could influence investor sentiment and stock performance, of course. And again, analysts are projecting a year-over-year increase of approximately 75% in revenue, reaching 38.8 billion. I'm looking at some other places that show just under 38 billion, but the analyst estimate for EPS is anywhere between 84 and 86 cents is what I'm showing here. So everybody's showing, there's different analysts have different expectations. We can look at the mean or the average, but yeah, I'm showing 84 to 86 cents, 38 billion roughly, right around 38 billion. One I'm showing 37.7, and then the other one I'm showing 38.7. And so it's about a billion in discrepancy in terms of their revenue, but we'll see what happens. We also have, again, Snowflake, C3 AI, Salesforce, Mara, IONQ, Quantum Stock. So we got a lot of stuff dropping. Beyond Meat, we got a bunch of other stuff too. So yeah, and this report is massive. Everybody knows this. Well, Nvidia beat or missed their quarter 4 earnings. Again, vote on the poll. We got our poll live as we always do. Yeah, y'all do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I definitely appreciate it. Let's check out the chat. Will it be right after the bell, or usually they do it 30 minutes? So the earnings are going to technically scheduled to be released at 4:20. Now they could really release it any freaking time after the closing bell. They really could drop it any time after the closing bell, but generally they're accurate. Generally the times that they say they're going to release are accurate. At the same time, you also sometimes get variance in that. Like sometimes companies will post it early or late. Most of the time they'll post it late, not early, but you know, we'll have to wait and see. You know, technically they're scheduled for 4:20 Eastern Standard Time for Nvidia earnings. So yeah. For long-term holdings, not financial advice. Would VOO or QQQ be better? Well, there's only a couple differences. I would compare the fees. I would compare the fees. So hold on one second. All right, sorry guys, pharmacy calling me. Yeah, so again, somebody's asking VOOQQQ. Look at, and again, look at Nvidia right now. So Nvidia mostly flat. I think when we take a look at it on an hourly chart, taking a look at an hourly chart, you can kind of see Nvidia leading into this earnings reports has been kind of flat. Like it had some dips and then it all the way down to 111. This was earlier this month, really. And then it basically rebounded all the way back up to close to lifetime highs. If it didn't break lifetime highs, it got pretty freaking close. And then the last week, it's basically had a complete turn down. So we're basically flat. We're basically right where we started here for Nvidia over the last, like, what is this, 20 days? 30 days? 20 days. Yeah, the last 20 days, Nvidia is basically flat. It's had some big range, some big swings, but it's basically flat over the past couple, you know, last while is flat. They're almost never leaked. Anybody that tells you they're leaked, they're usually just trying to manipulate you into either buying or selling. You get a lot of bots that say all these different stuff that, oh, the numbers were leaked and this is going on and this is going on. Again, they're almost never leaked. Usually anybody that's telling you they're leaked are either being manipulated by somebody else, or they're the one trying to manipulate you into either buying or selling, or taking some different positions. And bots are really bad with this as well. But again, they're almost never leaked. That's usually just kind of a rumor that people are trying to influence buys or sells. I mean, Nvidia's got a massive float of billions, so it's kind of dumb to try to do that. Like, the people that are doing that are usually kind of like rookies that don't know that they're not really going to be able to influence Nvidia in any significant way. I mean, let them try. But point is, the overarching point, it's not freaking leaked. Yeah, Jensen should be speaking today too. Drink my tea here. Yeah, so somebody's asking me about VOO and QQQ. They're both NASDAQ 100 ETFs. VOO, broad market. I'm sorry, VOO is S&P 500. QQQ is the NASDAQ 100. So S&P is 500, the largest companies diversified. NASDAQ 100 is tech heavy. It's 100 tech stocks, really. So VOO is more diversified. QQQ is mostly tech, over 50%. VOO is cheaper with the S&P 500. The QQQ is a little bit more expensive. Volatility is lower in VOO. QQQ is higher volatility. Long-term annual return of the S&P is about 10% historical. Recent returns on the QQQ have been about 13 to 14% on average. Dividends 1.4% for the VOO. QQQ has about 0.6%. Basically, the QQQ is more expensive but higher potential return, but more risk. It's the NASDAQ 100. It's tech stocks basically. But it's a good ETF, and it's pretty safe as well. I mean, it's not 100% safe. Like, there's always risks, but it's safer for sure. Or it's definitely riskier, I mean, than the S&P because it's less diversified, but everybody's different. Yeah, Bitcoin, Tesla, terrible day for both of those. Bitcoin down to 82K. I'm not really concerned about Bitcoin, to be honest, but Tesla, man, Tesla has had a huge downfall, a massive downfall for Tesla. Look at this, 280s, bro. This thing was at almost $500 in December, just 2 months ago. In December, this thing was at $500. It's now almost down 50% relative to where it was. Almost a 50% drop in Tesla. Kind of crazy. Also today, guys, we got C3 AI earnings. It's had a pretty rough couple months after DeepSeek. We also have Mara, Bitcoin stock, which obviously with Bitcoin tanking, Mara's not doing that hot because it's a mining company. We also have Snow, which again, with the rest of tech, has basically had a pretty rough year or so with Snowflake. And then we also have, what's the other one I'm missing? Salesforce, which Salesforce has been killing it recently, huh? Yeah, Salesforce still doing good, still green on the year, but still had a lot of tech stocks have pulled back some. You know, and again, guys, like, I think it's important for people to understand this. I'm not bragging, but I've had so many people try to insult me as an investor, or trader, economist, or whatever. And I've also had so many people that have told me that the market was going to crash over the last 5 years. Every freaking year. Some of these people hate me because I tell them the market doesn't have to crash. I'm just going to bring attention to my accuracy here. I told you guys I was slowing down my buying in like November and December because I was worried we might correct, and we're kind of getting a little correction here. Not going to say I called it, but I'm definitely glad I started slowing down my buys. And again, crashes are not something that happen all the time. Corrections are not something that happens all the time. Usually once a year we get a pretty significant correction of at least 10%. The bigger crashes where we're dropping 20-30%, those are much more rare, maybe once a decade on average. I have to look at the numbers, but it's something like that. And yeah, I'm really glad I slowed down my buying, despite everything. And again, we're still pretty early. Like, if you look at the QQQ, it's still pretty strong. Still pretty strong. And this correction's still pretty early, so maybe I'll add to some of this. I don't freaking know. Tesla's still overvalued. What's up, Taker, Faye, Rob, Carlos, Sam, It's Bad, Sir, Marcos, Hello, Brat, Rojas, Sean, Pawn, Nightbot, or Night, Adventure, Brandon, Michael, Carlos, Show, Kilo, Haratu or something, sorry, bro. Mitch, Brian, Zachary, Brianna, and more. Appreciate the love, guys. We'll see what we get today. Larry, appreciate everybody joining the stream today. Again, we still got 35 minutes plus until Nvidia earnings come out. The last Nvidia earnings stream, we had over 7,000 concurrent viewers. Again, though, like generally what happened is like a year ago, that Nvidia earnings call, we had 16, 15, 14,000 people watching. The hype has kind of slowed down a little bit, but I think this one's a little different. I think this one's a little different, man. I think this earnings call specifically. Oh. Woo. About to spill some stuff over here, guys. Yeah, again, Nvidia kind of flat over the last 20-day period. I'm still optimistic in it. You know, looking at the numbers, let's take a look. Let's delve a little bit deeper into the EPS graph. Now, remember, EPS is margins. Revenue is the ceiling kind of income they're bringing in, like the potential. I say ceiling because it's like, that's the way you should look at it. EPS is margins, right? It's how much they're making per share. Revenue is kind of like how much they can potentially make, right? Like in that regard, it's the ceiling. And that's why I call it the ceiling. But it's how much how much income they're bringing in, obviously, is what revenue is. Looking at their numbers here, right? We can take a look at their growth. This is a company, or this is a website called Macro Trends is the website I use. Obviously, this AI boom started back here in 2022, and it's been running, man. Their last earnings, they posted an EPS of 78 cents a share. 78 cents. Today, they are expecting 84 cents. So they're expecting a bump up way up here to about right there is what they're expecting. So that's what the next candle will look like if they show up as expected. Again, a pretty nice continuation of their EPS trend. If you want to see a trailing 12-month one, here's that. Just obviously really nice gains. Their growth has been pretty solid. Last time they were at 110% growth. I think today they said they were expecting 75%. But we'll have to go back and look at that. And again, this is their EPS. If I take a look at Nvidia's revenue, pretty similar graph here, Again, today they're expecting, I think it's like 37 to 38 billion in revenue. Taking a look at this, again, pretty nice little revenue graph here as well when you take a look at it. Last time they showed 35. They're expecting a slight bump up, so they're expecting this to be like here, give or take, right around there. So again, they're expecting big numbers. Hold on, let me see what the difference is per tick. So if this 30, 35, yeah, this is about right. So this is about 37 to 38 billion. So that's what the next one will look at if they come in as expected. Again, they could beat, they could miss. I don't freaking know what they're gonna do. I hope they beat. I hope the market goes up. It's not like I'm against the market running. So we'll see what happens, guys. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think. Beat or miss. But yeah, growth slowing down, of course. I mean, growth is never always going to pump like that. And again, let's talk about what we're going to look at. We've covered this a couple different times. Analysts projecting a year-over-year increase of 75%, almost 39 billion. Expected EPS of 86 cents. I'm also showing some places have it again at 84 cents. It surpasses Nvidia's own guidance from the previous quarter, which estimated revenue at 37.5 billion. So analysts are expecting a little bit more than Nvidia, and we'll see what happens. Maybe they're kind of like they're leading it a little bit because they understand Nvidia is going to have an incentive to kind of make it a little bit less so that they can beat, if that makes sense. I think that's probably what the analysts are doing, is just leading it a little bit to try to be as accurate as they can with their projections. The primary driver behind growth, as I've said, is surging demand for their data center products, particularly Blackwell GPUs. All the big tech companies in the world, again, are dedicating income in one way or another and money towards AI, and obviously that's going to have a lot to do with Nvidia here. Major companies, Amazon, Meta, Google, big increases in their CapEx, capital expenditures, basically how much money they're going to spend on AI, making Nvidia prospects pretty hot for a lot of things. Gold's also pumping up right now, despite all the weakness we're seeing in markets. Gold, maybe hedging against some of these risks. Again, stock has gone up about 2% today relative to the previous closing price of about 126.63. So it is up small. You know, you got to look at the big picture though. If I put a 5-minute chart up, you got to see Nvidia is down from earlier this week, or maybe late last week. So late last week we had some stuff. Nvidia is down, and so you know it's not unusual to see a stock dip and then rebound a little bit and kind of from extension. Again, there's 3 things to watch today. Again, this is what you want to pay attention to. You want to pay attention to the GPU rollout of Blackwell, the Blackwell GPU chip rollout. That's what you want to pay attention to. That's one of the most important things you want to watch today. Blackwell's GPU, what the timeline is. The transition to the new Blackwell chip family is absolutely important. Initial shipments have begun. They covered a little bit of it in their last call. Any production issues, delays, obviously could cause negative reactions and fear in markets for Nvidia. Analysts are still pretty optimistic, though, about Blackwell and all that stuff and their contribution to Nvidia's revenue. But it's something to watch. Pay attention to Blackwell updates. The second thing is DeepSeek. Let's see if they even mention DeepSeek. I'm curious to see if they do or not. But DeepSeek, and you know, basically it's a threat, right? That's what it is. It's a threat. People are fearful of it because... And DeepSeek is basically saying that they're able to accomplish 90% efficiency of what Nvidia is doing now with their super expensive and you know high cost chips, with 90% less chips, basically 90% less chip intensive. And they basically said they got the same result. Now, again, this is really hard to test. It's hard to get access to DeepSeek to really gauge whether this is the truth or not. But if it is true, obviously it has implications towards Nvidia. If we don't need Nvidia chips as much because of more efficiency model, you know, blueprints, then that's obviously going to be bad for Nvidia. Nvidia's at the same time, like, even if that's true, it's not like Nvidia is going to fail. It's going to make the whole AI market more efficient, and it's going to make the sectors grow regardless of it. It's going to make AI grow faster, and that in turn will make Nvidia grow faster too. So I don't think it's like the end of the world doom and gloom thing that a lot of people are making it out to be, but still relevant. Listen for DeepSeek updates. You know, again, it claims to achieve comparable performance with reduced computing power, raise questions about demand for AI. Customers have reaffirmed their commitment to Nvidia. Plans to increase capex on AI infrastructure still there. So that's an optimistic thing. And then, as always, with any major earnings call, we got to look at forward guidance, right? Forward guidance, investors monitoring their first quarter fiscal year next year. Analysts are projecting revenue of nearly $42 billion. Any deviation could influence investor sentiment. So you want to watch for guidance numbers. And again, we're going to cover it all as it drops. All this stuff is incredibly important. Yeah, I don't think they're going to actually mention it. Yeah, exactly, Tony. I think it'll be good for AI. Sorry, I was eating some nachos before this. I'm trying to get some corn. All right, guys. So, drinking some caffeine. Goal is always, regardless, Nvidia dominates PC gaming. Yeah, Nvidia is going to be fine. It's just about the AI hype that's surged Nvidia over the past few years. It's not like Nvidia is going to fail, or there's no chance of that. I stray away from definitive statements like there's no chance. Chance is very low probability. Not very probable. But, you know, anything could freaking happen, bro. We don't freaking know, man. Yeah, we still got 30 minutes left. 30 minutes left. Let's relax a little bit. Will you tell us a story about how you found out you want to be a YouTuber? Maybe later, brother. This is too important of an earnings call, man. Yeah, this is just too important, bro. Nvidia earnings are just massive, dude. This is like the Super Bowl of earnings. We got to cover it, of course. Yeah, and it's not just Nvidia. We got Salesforce, C3 AI. Like, I don't mind for my morning streams to kind of talk about stories and kind of, I try to make it like a podcast, to be honest, in the morning where I trade live and do all that good stuff. Stuff like this, though, we got 20 minutes, 25 minutes until one of the biggest earnings reports of the year. And so, yeah, we're going to cover this. Also, remember, guys, I'm never going to contact you on Telegram or Discord or anything like that. Not unless I know you personally or I'm responding to something. So if somebody that looks like me contacts you on Telegram or wherever, it's not me. It's a scammer. They're trying to get you to click links, fish for data. Just don't do it. All right. I'm never going to send you some stuff like that. Hey, brother, saw you for the first time without a cap. You look great. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Listen, it depends on how long my hair is. My hair is short right now. I told her to leave it long, and she cut it short. And I'm okay with it because I don't mind it short. But yeah, she cut it short. And again, so I don't need to wear my cap. The only time I like wearing my cap is if my hair's long and I don't feel like doing it. Because if I have really frizzy, poofy hair, and so if I get up in the morning and my hair's long, it's gonna look like crazy, and so I just throw a cap on it. But if it's short, I don't need to do it. But I appreciate it. Thank you. Does this earnings release include the quarter with new AI hardware? Is that next earnings? What do you mean? Yeah, so the CEO of Nvidia is going to be talking on the call that we're going to stream at 5 o'clock. The CEO, Jensen Huang, is going to be speaking at 5 o'clock on call. And we're going to stream it all live in real time as soon as it happens. Yeah, I don't mind my hair short. I just hate going to get a haircut. I hate going shopping and going to get a haircut. It really is like, I don't want to sit there and have to force, it's always the same dynamic. It's like the people cutting my hair, they're trying to be so nice because they want me to tip them. And I'll tip them if they just don't say a word to me and they just cut my hair, you know? I don't want to have to small talk with you for 30 minutes. I'd rather you just cut my hair. I'll tip you good if you just leave me alone. It's not like I'm mean. I just hate going to get my hair cut. Cerebrus? Yeah, I think I've used Cerebrus, Sam. Jod, appreciate you doing these earnings. Thank you, Uncle T. I appreciate it, bro. What's up, Yair? What's up, Louis? Yeah, dude, honestly, Nvidia, here's the problem. Okay, this is the real problem with these tech companies. The problem is that they have one of the big executives, like the higher up executives, maybe the CFO, the COO, the CEO. Somebody's talking, and regardless, they always end up, if they're, you can tell if somebody's calling in from their phone, you'll get really bad reception. And so for the largest tech company in the world, or at least one of them, they should make the call crystal clear. But they don't, and I hate it. You know, the last one, the call was so choppy, and it's not me. So listen, if the earnings call starts and the call is messing up, it ain't me. Okay? It's not me. It's on their end. We're going to give it to you live as clean as we can. But yeah. I just left the barber. He was on the phone the whole time. Yeah, they always try to sell you some like some conditioner or something. Like, I have dry hair, and they're always like, "Hey, we got our conditioner for dry hair," and I'm like, it never works. The stuff they give me never works. They tell me contradictory things. Like, they're just trying to sell something. They got to make a need. I get it. I'm not mad at them. If I was them, I'd do it too. But, you know. Chips are cyclical at the end. $75 might come sooner or later. Yeah. How do you prepare for earnings reports with your trades? I'm usually flat unless I'm invested into something. Now, one thing that you'll see me do in stocks is that if the stock drops big enough, and I think, here's an example. We did this a lot with, I think it was Meta the last time they did this. So Meta, their last earnings report was like right here, and they dumped big on this earnings report, like right here. I think this was Meta. It might not have been. When was Meta's last? It might have been one of these was an earnings report. I don't think it was Meta's last one. Let me see. I'm trying to see when all this stuff came out. Anyways, what I'll get, like, let's just pretend this is an earnings report. Okay. If I see a company that posts like a good EPS, good revenue, good sales guidance, and then drop like 10 or 15%, it almost always gets bought up, especially in this recent market. And so something that you'll see me do is if we get like a big, healthy company that has good earnings, but the market just for some reason just hates it and ends up dropping 10, 15%, I'll buy that up and I'll sit on it for a few weeks or longer if I need to. Usually a really good dip buy. I think this current market is a little bit different though towards that type of thing, especially with the volatility. You know, the VIX, if we take a look at the VIX, like the VIX is higher. You know, you can kind of see like the VIX climb up over the last few days because of all the bearish volatility. You know, like here's the VIX. The VIX is up to almost 20. So the volatility is a little bit high right now to be taking that type of dip buy strategy. But I'm not necessarily like against it. I just, you know, we'll see. When I don't talk when it gets cut, it feels awkward. Yeah, so you got to go to like one of the sports clips or something like that where you can just stare at a TV and act like you're doing something. I talk. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not like mean and quiet. Like if they asked me, so I had a black eye the last time I went, and so she was talking to me about like jujitsu. She saw the black eye, and I had just gotten it, and so I had like I always try to tell people like, hey, I didn't get into a street fight and just get beat up, you know. This is from jujitsu, like training jujitsu. Like somebody headbutted me on accident. So I'll talk to him, but I'm not gonna. I'd rather not, to be honest. I'd rather not go into deep conversations. I'd rather just get my hair cut and then just stay quiet. And most people can recognize it and they're just chill. But other people force a convo so they can try to sell you stuff. It's just, yeah, that's how it goes. All right, so Nvidia's getting back up there. It's over the volume weighted average price. We got the 200 exponential down here. You know, we got the volume weighted average price up here at 130s. So Nvidia fighting its way back up after a little bit of a red start to the day here. You know, I thought we might get choppiness. And one of the things that you see a lot during earnings is this big sideways momentum. Like you'll get like a very sideways rangy chart, squarish chart on earnings days because most people are slowing down their buys and sells in anticipation of the earnings. And so they'll just buy less and just kind of wait. And so because of that, a lot of the time we get choppiness. Not always, though. I would say probably like 70% of the time we get flat, choppy action leading into major tech earnings. And but I think the market's a little different right now. NASDAQ's down big, SPY's down big. Big volatility coming from everything. The tariffs. You know, the volatility is coming from a lot of different places. It's tariff news. It's conflicts overseas causing like the conflicts overseas are causing just volatility in finance. You know, the market also knows today is like the Super Bowl of earnings, and so I think you've had some baked in movement you know, with that context as well. So I feel like the market is missing a ton of positive catalysts. You should explain derivatives during a haircut. Derivatives are actually pretty simple. I know you're joking, of course. But derivatives actually I find derivatives incredibly interesting. Like if you ever watch The Big Short, that's derivatives, you know? If you ever hear the word derivatives and you don't know what it means basically they're creating a market for you. You know? Like I can bet on the Fed decision and buy option contracts on the Fed decision. That's a derivatives contract, you know, not options, but I can buy derivative contracts based off of what I think the Fed's decision is going to be, based off of what I think CPI inflation data is going to be. Those are called derivative contracts. You're basically making a market for something. I find that very interesting. That's where the big money is too in some ways. Anyways, Nvidia's pumping up. It's at 130s. Last month I was bullish on Nvidia. Now I'm bearish. Hey, good luck, brother. No. Is the title supposed to say 5 p.m.? No. So the earnings are releasing after 4 p.m. I don't know exactly, so I just said 4 p.m. But the earnings are dropping sometime after the closing bell at 4 p.m. Like, that's what it is. So the earnings are coming out after the 4 p.m. closing bell. Technically, they're scheduled for 4:20. We don't know exactly when. Technically, if they come out as expected, it'll be at 4:20. AMD software is way behind, somebody saying. It's down a lot. It's at 104s. You know, the earnings weren't bad for them last earnings call either, but they've dropped a big amount. Your show, why don't you know? Nobody freaking knows except for Jensen himself when the earnings are going to drop. He probably doesn't even freaking know, man. All we know is he probably knows he knows what the numbers are, but he doesn't know when they're going to release them. Again, a lot of the time Nvidia specifically is a little late on releasing their earnings too. Not always, but sometimes they are. So I guess the overarching point is it's scheduled for 4:20, but companies can release them anytime after the closing bell, right? So, and sorry, the light is shining in my face. I can't help it. But they can release anytime after 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They can drop these numbers. And so, yeah. I guess the point I'm trying to, I don't want to say 4:20 on there and then have people tune in at 4:15, but they drop them numbers 5 minutes before that. So I'd rather just be safe and say 4 p.m. And then if they drop them sometime early, I'm covered. That should make sense. Oh, can y'all not hear music? I'm over here talking to myself. The music's in my background. I'm sorry. I muted it for something. Sorry, guys. This is the best finance channel. Hey, thank you, T. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Appreciate y'all reminding me about the music. I completely forgot. Brother, but AMD beats the Nvidia GPU chips this time. I like AMD chips, dude. Like, I bought my son a laptop for Christmas, and I got him an AMD Ryzen 9 laptop, you know. So I like AMD. It's not like I'm against AMD. Nvidia is just the alpha one. They're the most well-known one. So, but AMD's good. AMD, the problem has been their income. They've just not been bringing in as much income to justify the price. And I know people are going to say the same thing about Nvidia, but like if we take a look at AMD EPS graph, you know, the PE ratio for AMD over the past few years has been pretty freaking high. You know, AMD last time showed 30 cents a share EPS. Time before that, 47. Time before that, 16. Time before that, 7. So they've had margin problems is what AMD's had. That's why they're so cheap in price. You compare that to Nvidia. Again, Nvidia's last EPS was 78 cents. Their one before that was 67 cents. And if you take a look at Nvidia's graph here, like, look, we can compare the two. So again, here's Nvidia's EPS graph, right? Like, look how nice this graph is. This is why people are a little bit more pessimistic about AMD. Here's Nvidia's margin graph. Like, this is their numbers, how much they're earning, bringing in. Like, net. This is their net EPS. And now when you compare that to something like AMD, you see how, like, different these two charts look? Like, here's AMD's numbers. You know, definitely not as good. Definitely a little bit more of a struggle for AMD to bring in income. And there's probably a lot of reasons for that. But that's the difference. That's why Nvidia's at 130s and AMD's at 100s. And AMD has had a noticeably worse few years than Nvidia has. That's why. Yeah, their GPUs are weak. And the GPU market with AI has been what's taken off for sure. Like graphics and all that stuff are important. Almost 1,000 people watching. Yeah, I mean, when the earnings actually come out, we should have way over that too. Last time we had like 7,000. The time before that we had like 15. So. Dude, you have a YouTube channel about trading. Why don't you know exactly when and where it will go? I'm hoping that's sarcasm, you know. It's got to be sarcasm. I'm just going to assume it's sarcasm because I don't think anybody could seriously think that. It's all love. Maybe you do. Hey, it's okay. AMD has the tech, but not the scale yet. Yeah, for sure. They're probably also using a lot for research as they have the fastest CPU. It's expensive. It's got to be sarcastic. Yeah, I mean, the whole market fears inflation right now, but the market's honestly reacted. The market's also been really interesting in their reactions to economic data lately. You know, we were in this weird period for a few months where like a stronger economy caused the market to go down and a weaker economy caused the market to go up, most likely because the market wants rate cuts, and, you know, a strong economy signals inflation problems can potentially as well. So the market doesn't really want more inflation, so they fear it. So payrolls coming in super high could signal more inflation and the market reacts negatively. We also have kind of pivoted back a little bit to good is good, I would say, over the last few weeks. Tomorrow we have GDP. And then Friday, we have the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index. Those two economic reports, GDP, I think tomorrow is second revision. GDP, incredibly important. And then Friday's Personal Consumption Expenditure Index is inflation. It's what the Fed uses to gauge inflation. It's the Fed's inflation gauge is Friday. So we'll see what inflation looks like on Friday, and we'll see what GDP looks like tomorrow to figure out whether the market wants a strong economy or a weak economy, depending on inflation's context. So we'll see what happens there. Warlock John? I gotta get the floating head somewhere, dude. I don't know where it went. I gotta find it. Didn't you speak with Jensen on the phone today? That was yesterday, bro. Alright, guys. Hey, we got 9 minutes left. 9 minutes until Nvidia earnings potentially come out sometime in the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Again, they're technically scheduled for 4:20 Eastern Standard Time, but they're gonna release sometime after 4. Can you think of any situation in which they would not drop it today and delay it for tomorrow? Are you talking about Nvidia? Can I think of any situation in which Nvidia would not release today and only drop it tomorrow? I mean, yeah. I mean, I can think of a lot of crazy freaking situations that would cause Nvidia to do that. Can I think of any probable situation? No, not really. Not at this point in time. You know, it'd have to be some type of crazy world event or something that would cause Nvidia to, or some like really deep sketchiness, which I don't think they do, or I don't think they're involved with, like, in that. So no, not really. I don't think it's possible. Yeah, they're expecting plus 10%. Okay, brownies guy. Okay, yeah, it's hard for me to tell the context. I was hoping you were joking. You had to be. But you were making fun of the first guy, so props to you, because the first guy expected me to know everything. Like, I'm not a mind reader. I don't know exactly when Nvidia is going to release their numbers. They're scheduled for 4:20, but they might choose to release it earlier or later. The time is 4:20 scheduled, though, but it could come anytime after 4 p.m. And so that's the way you got to look at it. Basically, it's more likely it drops at 4:20, and honestly, I hope it drops at 4:20. But who freaking knows when this number is going to come out? I'm gonna delete that comment, Louis. Sorry, brother. He can't afford curtains. Lost too much in the stock market. Yeah, man, listen, I'm just hanging out in my mom's basement. Honestly, I got freaking curtains, dude. Y'all want to see this? Look. Like, somehow the freaking sun just beats down over this, man. Like, somehow the sun just kind of says, oh well, dude, like, sun's like, I'm getting through today. Trust me, I've tried everything. I've tried like taping it and everything. You'll be all right. Top 3 curtains in the world right now. Yeah, I guess those are blinds. I should get curtains in here. You know, this only happens like maybe like once, twice a year. So. I can stand up like this. see if I can raise this thing up. Hold on. Oh man, look at this. Look, there you go. Wow, I'm all tall up here, man. There we go. I'll just do this. This is just gonna have to be good enough, guys. Good luck to you in your life. Hey, good luck to you as well, man. I appreciate it, I guess. Thank you, sir. Good luck in your life, too. Just let the sun shine. And vitamin D is important. Yeah, I'm streaming the call. We're streaming all of it. So here's the schedule. All right. Nvidia technically scheduled 4:20 Eastern Standard Time. Snowflake scheduled for 4:05 Eastern Standard Time. Salesforce scheduled for 4 o'clock on the dot. CRM is going to drop. C3 AI both scheduled for 4:05 along with Snowflake. Mara scheduled for 4:05. IONQ scheduled for 4:05. So at 4 p.m. CRM, Salesforce, one of the more heavily weighted earnings reports that we got today. Salesforce is a big company. AI related, tech related too. Right at 4 p.m. is when they're scheduled to drop in about 4.5 minutes. All right, that's number one. That's the first one that's going to come out. Following that, at 4:05 p.m., we're going to have Snowflake, C3 AI, Mara, IONQ, and Beyond Meat. At 4:20, we got Nvidia, technically scheduled. So Snowflake expecting 18 cents a share. Salesforce just killing it, 261 a share expectation for EPS. Revenue of 10.04 billion. If you don't know what blinds are, I know what they are. I just kind of grouped them all together, you know. Like here in Louisiana, or Texas, I guess I'm in Texas. Here in the South, we call everything Coca-Cola. Coke. Like, hand me a Coke. It could mean Sprite. We could mean Dr. Pepper. You know, you could also call it a soft drink. Sometimes we call it that too. But we just kind of group it together. Blinds, curtains, all kind of the same thing. Okay, to me at least. I know the difference. Curtains, you have like a pole at the top, and then you kind of pull them over. It completely shuts out everything. That's probably what I should get, but it's an office. You know, the blinds are already in. If you turn the blinds upward, it helps. Does it really? Let's try. That helped. Shout out to this guy. My guy. Thank you, Call Me Sam. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you, sir. Haircuts and curtains. What's up, Goose? The hero. The hero of the hour. Listen, my guy, man. Hey, cheers to this guy. Sam. All right, Nvidia, guys, here, let's hype it up. We got 3 minutes left, 3 minutes. I'm going to read this quickly so we can hype it up. Nvidia fourth quarter earnings today, massively important. They're expecting year-over-year increase of 75% in revenue, reaching $38.8 billion. EPS is expected at 86 cents a share, 66% rise. Projections surpass Nvidia's own guidance from the previous quarter, which they had at $37.5 billion. The driver behind growth is the surge of Nvidia's data center products, the Blackwell GPUs specifically. Big tech companies like Amazon, Meta, Google have, increased their capex and spending towards AI, bolstering Nvidia's prospects. Again, factors to watch: Blackwell's GPU rollout. The new Blackwell chip family is absolutely important. Initial shipments have begun. Production issues or delays could cause problems for Nvidia, but analysts are optimistic there. DeepSeek, they say they basically can have 90% efficiency with less GPU chips. And so if they're able to do that, it would prove less of a need for Nvidia chips. I still think it's good for the AI market. We'll listen to see if they have any type of implications there, if they mention that at all. Forward guidance, of course, is massively important. The analysts project revenue for forward guidance for the fiscal year at $42 billion. Any deviation from this could cause problems. And we got 1 minute left, chat. 1 minute left. Question is, will the beat be enough? I don't know. I'm a Louisianian at heart. I live in Texas, but I'm from Louisiana, so. Chest of drawers, soft drink, you know. All right, guys, here we go. 30 seconds. Yeah, 1 minute until Salesforce, Salesforce, CRM releases in 1 minute. It's at 3:07. It's a little weak on the day. We'll see what this number comes. We're going to cover all of them, too. All right, here we go. It's time. This timer's a little bit early. We got 15 seconds. All right, guys, here we go. There's the closing bell. All right, so look at CRM. Salesforce is ripping up here. Salesforce is ripping up. Let's see if they showed anything. All right, I'm going to set this timer to 4:20, even though the numbers could technically release anytime. All right, here's the timer for this. Salesforce numbers moving here. Look, Salesforce all the way down to 307. It's a big retracement number here. Let's see if we can figure it out. I don't really see it yet. All right, look at Salesforce, guys. Wow, Salesforce with a massive drop down to 294s for Salesforce, all the way back up and then all the way back down here for Salesforce. Let me see what these numbers are. Salesforce announced their numbers. They posted 900 million data center and cloud AI annual revenue, up 120% year over year. Data cloud surpassed 50 trillion records. Nearly half of the Fortune 100 are both AI and data cloud customers, and all of our top 10 wins in quarter four included data. So fourth quarter revenue came in at 10 billion for CRM, up 8% year over year and up 9% in constant currency, inclusive of sub and support revenue of 9.5 billion. Fiscal year 25 revenue of 37.9 billion, up 9%. Yeah. Guidance numbers, they initiate guidance of 40.5 billion to 40.9 billion, up 7%. Market does not like this at all for Salesforce. Salesforce is down big here, guys. Salesforce posted 278 EPS versus 261. Sales of 9.993, missed the 10.03 estimates. So I'll put these numbers up on screen. Again, Salesforce is not liking this. Again, here's Salesforce's numbers right there in chat. Salesforce down to 280. Kind of dragging Nvidia down a little bit with it. Again, we still technically have about 17 minutes left if they come out on time. But again, they said we had an incredible quarter and year, strong performance across our key metrics, including the highest cash flow in our company's history and more than 60 billion in RPO. No company is better positioned than Salesforce to lead customers through the digital labor revolution with our deeply unified platform, seamless integrating our customers' 360 apps. Data Cloud and Agent Force were already delivering unprecedented levels of productivity, efficiency, and cost savings for thousands of companies. We closed out the year with strong results, and our relentless focus on profitable growth drove record-breaking revenue, margin, and cash flow, setting a strong foundation for the company into fiscal year of 26, said Amy Weaver, President and CFO. She said, quote, our capital return program continued to deliver incredible value to our shareholders, returning 21 billion since inception. So yeah, this is down some for sure. Definitely somewhat of a drop. Still waiting on Nvidia here. Yeah, in 2 minutes, guys, we got yeah, so fiscal year EPS was 149 to 151. Revenue was 9.76 billion in guidance for Salesforce. That 290 a share. Still waiting for Nvidia. Yeah, so one of the big reasons that's driving this down is revenue missed expectations. They expected over 10 billion in revenue for Salesforce. They ended up showing 9.993 billion. They also had worse guidance. Quarter one guidance came in at 255. They expected 261. Revenue guidance came in at 9.76 versus 9.9 expected. So they missed basically everywhere. For guidance, as well as their revenue miss. Their EPS was higher, but their revenue was worse for Salesforce, which is the chart on the left side of your screen. All right, guys, we got about 15 minutes. All right, so there's 405. All right, so there's 405. So we got a couple ones dropping right now. We had C3 AI, which is currently reacting to their earnings. We also had Snow, S-N-O-W. Again, remember, hit the live button next to the play button if you want to catch up on all this stuff. Again, we're going to cover it all live here like we always do, as well as Nvidia's big story. All right, so C3 AI posted numbers. Revenue for the quarter was 98.8 million. What did they expect? They expected 97.97. So they beat EPS, or they beat revenue for C3 AI. And they're up some. They're up to 27. Let's see what S&OW did. All right, so C3 AI is ripping up to 27s. Snow is having a big range here. They're at 169s right now, 167s. Look at this. So yeah, Snow is out. They posted 943.3 million product revenue net. Yeah, so they expected 952. They showed 943, so they missed. So a lot of companies are missing revenue right now. Chat is what I'm showing up here. Salesforce also announced 900 million in data center and cloud. But Snowflake BDPS missed revenue, which is what a lot of these companies are doing. Here's Snow's numbers right there. 30 cents beat 17 cents. Sales at 986 beat the 955 estimate. So apparently some of their revenue was higher than expected. Maybe their product revenue was lower. So Snow is up as well here. We also have Mira, which is a Bitcoin mining company. I don't know if they dropped yet. Salesforce, again, down pretty big. Missed revenue, missed guidance for Salesforce. Again, Snow. I'm showing, I guess, Snow BDPS beat revenue. I don't know what their guidance were. And then eBay also posted some numbers too. So again, here's Salesforce. I'm going to put these up in chat again. There's Salesforce. Here is eBay. All right, still waiting on Nvidia here, chat. I'm going to put a 1-minute chart up for Nvidia as we wait. They're getting influenced by the rest of the tech numbers that dropped. But those are all the big ones. I would say Salesforce is down huge so far. Snow is up pretty big. You can see Snow right there. And then what was the other one? C3. C3 is basically flat right now. So C3 is flat from their earnings. Snow is up decently, up, you know, not a bad amount. And then CRM is down big. So waiting on Nvidia. Nvidia's creeping up in anticipation of these numbers, though. So we're waiting here still. All right, 12 minutes, chat. 12 minutes. Let's get ready. Look at Snowflake fly up here. Wow. These earnings are from before DeepSeek. Yeah, well, they might mention DeepSeek in their call is what I want to pay attention to. Top 3 YouTubers, thank you for what you do. Hey, thank you, AB. Appreciate it, brother. Yeah, we try. Yeah, we got about 10 minutes left. Y'all be ready. Yeah, eBay posted 125, expected 120, revenue of 2.6 bill. They expected 2.57, so they beat on both ends, but it was close enough to where this is kind of a mixed result. Like, this is not some huge beat for eBay. eBay has obviously been on its way out for a long time now. But they're still making money. It's not like they're nothing. Like, if I'm the CEO of eBay, I'm still pretty freaking happy. If I founded eBay, I'm still pretty happy, but it's just not the big boy anymore like it used to be. All right, guys. Again, Snowflake flying up at 188s here, chat. 188s. So again, Snowflake 30 cents a share. They expected 17 cents. Revenue of 0.99. They expected 0.95 or billion. So they expected 990 million. They showed 990 million. They expected 950. So better than expected EPS revenue, and they're up to justify. They're almost up to 190s. Nvidia's slowly creeping up. It's at 131s, 132s here. 10 minutes left though, chat. Yeah, still waiting. Nvidia's testing this top. Nvidia's got some 132 resistance levels here, so let's watch this. Again, 9 minutes left here, chat. 9 minutes. Y'all ready? It's a big report for sure. Y'all be ready, man. Massive report. Still waiting here, guys. Watch Nvidia. Nvidia slowly creeped up in sympathy with Snow. Snow is AI related as well. It's up to 190s. Nvidia at 132. So Snow is again positioned itself on the forefront of AI. It's data cloud platform. All right, so here's Snowflake's guidance. They posted 960 million versus 1 billion expected for guidance. Fiscal year revenue guidance came in at 4.28 billion versus 4.41 billion expected. So Snowflake just missed guidance numbers here. They're still up a lot, but they did miss guidance here. Again, so AI data cloud is at the front of Snow's business, and so they're AI related as well. You can kind of see Nvidia creep up on Snow's increases, but again, Snow just missed guidance. I'll put some of these guidance numbers up in chat as well. So there's the link right there if you want to check it out. There's Snowflake's numbers. Still 8 minutes left. Yeah, Nvidia is scheduled for 4:20 Eastern Standard Time in 7 minutes is when it's scheduled technically. Yeah, remember, guys, we're going to cover Nvidia earnings, and then we're going to stream the full call live at 5 o'clock. 7 minutes. Yeah, so Snowflake dropped those numbers. We're going to pull back a little bit on that, and then look at the sympathy in Nvidia. Nvidia pulling back on some of these numbers, too. 7 minutes here, chat. Yeah, Jitsin Huang's going to be speaking. We also have the GTC event next month, which obviously is massive for Nvidia. So that's happening next month too. All right, guys. Remember, hit the live button next to the play button. Make sure you're fully caught up on stream. Nvidia earnings are releasing pretty soon. Earnings whisper crashes almost every earnings report. All right, so there's a big candle right here for Nvidia. It's definitely not the earnings candle yet, but it's a big candle. You always got to start to watch these candles because that might indicate the earnings are coming out. But this isn't one yet for sure. I think this is just snow volatility from the SNOW. We're at 131.50s. Remember, tomorrow we got GDP data, PCE data on Friday too, so y'all be ready, man. All right, so Nvidia's down some here. So Snowflake securely integrates Microsoft Azure OpenAI service to provide access to the latest OpenAI models. So Snowflake's still reporting some numbers here. The live button is right next to the play button, guys. Y'all ready? Let's give it Nvidia. Again, we're going to cover it as soon as it drops. We got 5 minutes left. All right, guys, y'all ready? Let's see if Nvidia's on time. Sometimes Nvidia's late for their earnings. Again, there's 3 things you want to listen for today. Blackwell updates, DeepSeek implications, and guidance, of course, right? Obviously, we're going to look at EPS revenue. EPS is expected at anywhere between 84 to 86 cents. Revenue is expected anywhere between like 37.5 billion to 38.5 billion, roughly, maybe a little bit over that. So again, 84 to 86 cents is what we're expected for adjusted EPS. Revenue expected anywhere between, again, 37.5 to like 38 to the high 38s, like 38.8. I'm showing some had it. So, yeah, we're still waiting here, guys. We're still waiting. Less than 4 minutes left. Yeah, Snowflake flying up. And again, Nvidia is kind of reacting to that here as well. Hyped up music? Okay, yeah. All right, guys. Nvidia earnings. 3 minutes. Hit the live button next to the play button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, guys. Nvidia earnings coming soon. Oof. Massive Nvidia earnings chat. 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes. We'll see if they drop them right on time too, because sometimes they're early, sometimes they're late. A lot of the time they're late. Again, C3 AI has turned all the way back down to $24 a share. We also had CRM, which is rebounded back up some, but it's still at $290. And then obviously Snow is pulling back as well. We're starting to see some pullbacks in tech and AI stocks leading into Nvidia earnings. All right, guys, we got 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Yeah, we got almost 5,000 here. That's good. You know, again, every consecutive Nvidia earnings, the hype for Nvidia earnings drops a little bit. All right, guys, here we go. I got drama music. All right, guys, 1.5 minutes left. Again, hit the live button. If you want to catch it in real time, hit the live button. Here we go. All right, guys, we got a little bit over a minute. We got 1 minute and 10 seconds. Again, hit the live button. You'll be so you can catch it on time. Yeah, no, again, I'm not really super worried. All right, here we go. We got less than a minute here. This is when they can release it any freaking time over the next 60 seconds. They might release it late. but they can really release it anytime here. Let's watch. I'm going to change the music to this. All right, guys. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. We'll see if they're on time with it today. All right, guys, 10 seconds. 5 or 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, that's 420. Let's watch Nvidia. That's 420. Look, here they are. They're here. Nvidia is down to 127s already here. Again, Nvidia is down already. Now it's back up to 132s. 133s. Nvidia posted adjusted EPS of 89 cents. They expected 84 to 86 cents. Fourth quarter revenue of 39.3 billion. They expected 38.25 billion expected. Better than expected EPS and revenue. Their fourth quarter adjusted margin came in at 73.5% as expected roughly. Again, quarter four numbers came in at 89 cent adjusted EPS versus 84 cents expected. Revenue of 39.3 billion. They expected 37.61 billion. We'll put this number up in chat again. So they beat EPS, beat revenue, beat adjusted, adjusted gross margin. So, or as expected adjusted gross margin. Better than expected EPS, better than expected revenue, as expected adjusted gross margin. Let's look deeper into these numbers though. So again, Nvidia posted 89 cents. They expected anywhere between 84 and 86 cents. Sales of 39.331 bill versus roughly 38 billion expected. They reported quarter four. They have guidance numbers are here, guys. Guidance numbers are here. They posted quarter one 2026 revenue guidance at 43 billion plus or minus 2%. They expected about 41 billion. So that's basically, you know, a little bit worse than expected forward guidance. And I think this is what's tanking Nvidia right now. So look at Nvidia turn on this future guidance numbers. Again, they posted for the quarter one revenue guidance of 43 billion plus or minus 2%, expected 42. So, you know, non-GAAP gross margins at 70.6 and 71% respectively. Data center revenue came in at 35.6 billion versus 34.2 billion expected. Gaming revenue came in at 2.5 billion versus 3.02 billion expected. So lower than expected gaming revenue. Their quarter one revenue guidance was flat basically, but a little bit, you know, worse than I think people wanted. And that's driving Nvidia price down. Again, I'll put the guidance numbers up. We'll put the rest of these numbers up on screen as well so you can catch it. There's the guidance numbers. Quarter one revenue 43 billion plus or minus 2% versus 42 billion expected. Again, data center revenue came in higher than expected. Gaming numbers showed up a little bit worse than expected. You can kind of see the data center stuff here. Nvidia is basically flat. You know, and the expected volatility from this was about 10%. They're creeping right back up. They're at 132s here. Non-GAAP gross margins. They see quarter one 2026 tax rate at 17% plus or minus 1%, excluding discrete items. So we're going to continue to post this in chat. Again, so we are dipping down now. Quarter four professional visualization revenue came in at 511 versus 570 or 505 expected. Yeah. I mean, Nvidia's kind of flat. It hadn't really moved much. We'll wait for the earnings call. We'll see what they say. Again, while we got a second, guys, if you want to help support your boy here in this channel, number one, we're going to stream the entire Nvidia earnings call completely live on the stream like we always do. Every time we always cover Nvidia earnings in their full call live right here as we always do. If you want to help support the channel, check out TopStep. TopStep gives you a demo. Test your skill with it if you're trying to learn day trading. Most day traders lose. If you deposit 5, 10, 20, 30 grand, let's be honest, you're probably going to lose a huge chunk of that Don't do it. Most day traders lose. Instead, try a funded account program. They'll give you 50K in demo account. If you can make 3K in profit on a 50K demo without losing 2K first, following their rules and conditions, they fund you 50K with a 90% split. And most traders lose. And so if you lose, you're out 49 bucks. If you were going to pay for a demo account with real-time data, it's going to cost about the same. But if you pass it, you get a 90% split, similar to funding your own account. The risk is noticeably less. It's just a great way to learn how to day trade. Most day traders lose, and again, they've paid out almost $200 million. They fund thousands of traders. It's just a great way to learn. And again, I'll put the link up if you want to help support the channel. They are an affiliate of mine. I am biased, of course, because I get paid by them. But definitely top 3 most biased person in the world right now. But if you want to check them out, I'll put the link in chat. It's a great way to learn how to day trade. And in the futures market, you can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow, the Russell, gold, some currencies. A lot of Forex traders should be trading futures as well. If you want to check it out, here's the link. Great way to help support the channel. Anyways, guys, Nvidia is completely flat from this earnings report. Honestly, it's been a long time since I've seen Nvidia earnings be this stagnant. Like, they haven't moved at all. Like, they're at 132s. This is basically where they closed. And their earnings are out. I mean, they beat EPS, beat revenue. Guidance was mixed, kind of flat, I would say, for guidance numbers. You know, again, I think there's a couple things that might be hurting Nvidia's strength right now. This is one of them. Right here. They guided for Q1 revenue. Again, I'll put this up on screen, actually. So yeah, I'm going to put this up on screen. Yeah, so Nvidia. Yeah, they just haven't. Again, the implied volatility was like what, 10% or something like that. So this is kind of low for them, to be honest. Again, Nvidia's numbers right there. Again, I think what hurt them was their forward fiscal guidance came in at 42 plus or minus 2%. Was it 42 or 43? I think even though it was kind of as expected, I think investors, analysts, they want better than that, right? So I think that's one of the reasons we're kind of having this very slow move. I think we also moved up in anticipation of Nvidia earnings. I think Snowflake calls the sympathy movement in Nvidia to pop up some. So I think with them coming in as expected for guidance, a lot of people wanted them to do better, of course, and I think that's what's driving the weakness in Nvidia right now. I wouldn't even call it weak. It's just kind of flat, a little bit boring here. So all right, I'm gonna put some normal music back on. IONQ. What did IONQ do? I know there was a quantum play. It's down to 26.5s here. So here's IONQ on the left side. Down to 26.5s. Look at this drop. Wow. Again, we had some tariff talk at the end of the day too, didn't we? So yeah, so the EU said they will react, quote, firmly and immediately to U.S. tariff. U.S. Department of Transportation tells New York it must end congressional pricing of Lyft and Uber by the 21st of March. So the president said, quote, in just over 1 month, border crossings have plummeted by numbers nobody ever saw. Nobody has ever actually seen before. We've unleashed American energy. We're fighting every day to get the prices down. He also reversed concessions the previous president gave to Venezuela's Maduro on oil deal, according to a couple different quotes. Also, Google cuts employees in the cloud division, according to Bloomberg. IONQ is dumping down here too. So look, this is a quantum stock. Quantum's still a long way out. I do think it's the future. It could always change, but I do think it's a long way out. It's really fragile. It's really fragile, but there's big implications if it does continue to kind of push. So the White House says they still plan to implement 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico next week, at least for now, despite comments from the president earlier that raised hopes of another delay, according to Axios. So here's a influencing the market probably here. Other tech is not out yet. Predictions was moving from this outcome. Nvidia is still selling. Yeah, I mean, Nvidia is very flat right now. I mean, they're still slightly green on the day, but it's definitely an underwhelming reaction here for Nvidia earnings. Yeah, flat is good. I mean, if it holds its gains, as long like the market's already been really red today, right? And really red for the last week straight. If the market can just hold and not fall more, I think that's a dub. I think that's a win. I think that's a W. I think if the market can just not go down more, I think that's great. So with that said, though, IONQ dumping down here. Salesforce still down to 290s, pretty big percentage drop. Snowflake still up there at 185s. C3 AI down pretty big. IONQ down pretty big. Mara flat. Bitcoin obviously has had a tumble down to 84,000, hit 82,000 before the closing bell. And again, I think most people are just waiting for Nvidia earnings to drop, so we'll have to wait and see. Again, we got the full call going live. So yeah, we got the full Nvidia earnings call going live at 5 p.m. I'm going to put a timer up for this. 30 minutes, 29. Yeah, so here's the timer. Again, the earnings call, which we will stream again in its entirety, is in less than 30 minutes now. So what are you guys' thoughts, man? Honestly, I'm genuinely shocked to see this reaction for Nvidia from their earnings report. That is a tiny reaction. Very, very small. Very, very small. And we still had over 5,000 people here, so people are still tuning into this. Like at 4:20 p.m., we had over 5K people here. So people are still interested in Nvidia earnings, but the reaction is just indecisive, I guess, is what this is. Look at IONQ, guys. What did IONQ show for its earnings? IONQ saw sales. IONQ missed by about 400% their quarter 4 EPS. Sales beat, but they missed their EPS by 400%. They see quarter 1 sales at 8 million. They see fiscal year 2025 sales to come in at 95 million versus 83 expected. So yeah, IONQ is dumping down on a huge miss on their margins, on their EPS. Again, let's see how this is affecting the NASDAQ. The net effect of the NASDAQ is basically nothing. It looks very similar to Nvidia. Yeah, we're going to cover Jensen when he speaks live for sure. It doesn't happen for another 25 minutes or so. But yeah, we're going to stream the whole thing live like we always do. I'm going to put this up so we can actually see it. Shout out to the guy that told me to flip my blinds upside down. Because that guy helped me out a lot today. Sam, I think was his name. Shout out to him. Again, appreciate it. Alex Pereira versus Ankalev. Ankalev. I can't ever pronounce his name right. My heart is telling me Alex P. My head is telling me Alex P is going to get wrestled for a couple rounds and then maybe tap. But I hope Alex wins. Just wondering why Nvidia should go up with companies firing people and using the extra money to buy Nvidia chips for AI, because if Nvidia wants to go up, that's what it should say. Nvidia did this the last time it was flat, then it dumped hard tomorrow. We see 125. It started dip down. It's under 130s. Okay, thanks for the stream. Nothing to see. Well, the earnings call is important. When I need to cut out the noise and just get what I need to know, I come here. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Steven. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you, man. Which 50 Cent song? 50 Cent, that was like my generation, bro. Like, which one? Mini Men? Take You to the Candy Shop? Which one, dude? You know. Hey, good luck, Don. Jensen, Here, let me end this poll since the numbers already showed up. Let's do another poll. Will Nvidia react positively or negatively to their earnings call today? Bull reaction or bear reaction, guys? Vote on the poll. All right, Nvidia's creeping down towards the bottom. Take it off for the 99 and 2000. IONQ missed expectation by 600%. Was it really? I saw the expected numbers was like, yeah, I'll have to go back and look. Jensen said the demand for Blackwell is amazing and they posted a mid guidance. Perhaps they are being conservative. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, we're still waiting on the numbers here. I mean, we got all the Nvidia data out. Again, Nvidia posted a couple different numbers here. Specifically, they posted 89-cent EPS, expected 84 to 86 cents. Sales of 39.3. They beat 38 expected, so much better than expected revenue. They see quarter one 2026 revenue guidance at 43 billion plus or minus 2%. They expected 42 billion. So a little bit better, but I think people want more than this, right? And I think this is the reason they've kind of had an underwhelming reaction, is because even though technically the expectation was 42 billion, number one, the plus or minus 2% thing, that's a lot. And so I think it's flat when they wanted better. I think it was flat guidance when they wanted better. Data center revenue came in at 35.6 bill versus 34.2 billion. Better than expected for data center guidance. Data revenue guidance, I mean. But, it's still, yeah. I think they wanted more. All right, so we're at 130s for Nvidia. Again, we're going to stream the 4 earnings call live, as always. I think Palantir's the new Nvidia, to be honest, but Palantir's had a tough road too, man. So. All right, guys, Nvidia just under that 200 exponential volume weighted average price level. We still got 20 minutes. Oh yeah, bro, Harriet the Spy died. Rest in peace, man. The girl from Euro Trip, Harriet the Spy. Those are the two movies I remember her in. Euro Trip, Harriet the Spy. Rest in peace, man. Sad. She had basically a liver transplant and she rejected it. They think. We don't know for sure, but yeah, sad. Yep. Yeah, so again, we're at 131s here. This 200 exponential volume weighted average price level is huge. All right, so Nvidia, again, their revenue 39.9, 12% increase from previous quarter, 78% surge compared to the same period last year. Data center revenue reached 35.6, up 16% sequentially at 93% year over year, underscoring their leadership. GAAP EPS 89 cents, 14% rise from the prior quarter, 82% increase year over year. Fiscal 25 total revenue reported at 130.5 billion, a substantial 114% growth from previous years. GAAP EPS recorded at 295 on the year for last year, representing a 147% increase from the previous year. Revenue projections, they anticipate 43 billion plus or minus 2% for revenue for quarter one fiscal guidance. Gross margins expected GAAP and non-GAAP 70.6 and 71% respectively, plus or minus 50 basis points, which is 0.5%. They said demand for Blackwell is amazing. Yeah. And then again, this is what they said. Demand for Blackwell is amazing as reasoning AI adds another scaling law. Increasing compute for training makes models smarter, and increasing compute for long thinking makes the answer smarter, said Jensen Huang, founder and CEO of Nvidia. They said, quote, "We've successfully ramped up the massive scale production of Blackwell AI supercomputers, achieving billions of dollars in sales in its first quarter. AI is advancing at light speed as agentic AI and physical AI set the stage for the next wave of AI to revolutionize the largest industries. They will pay its next quarterly dividend of 1 cent per share, April 2nd, 2025. Just to put that in perspective, you have to have 100 shares to make $1 a quarter. I mean, come on now. 1 cent per share, bro? Per quarter? You know, I got 1,000 shares, bro. I make $10 a quarter. That's, you know, hey, listen. When do you think the market will recover? I really don't know. Guidance was 43 billion plus or minus 2%. They expected 42 billion for fiscal year 25. Yeah. Yeah, I get a Big Mac a quarter if I, sit on 1,000 shares of Nvidia. That's basically what they're telling me. 2 months of Amazon Prime? Yeah, I guess so. Make it make sense though. Why even have a dividend if it's 1 cent a quarter? Like, is that really gonna encourage anybody? Like, anybody that has enough to buy 1,000 shares of Nvidia is not gonna care about the quarterly dividend, Again, I have no idea what the market's going to do, guys. Genuinely no idea. And again, if you want to help support your boy here, we're going to stream the entire Nvidia earnings call completely live in 18 minutes. We do this live. We cover every major economic report and data release that we can. We cover CPI, PPI, Jerome Powell, press conferences, meetings, Nvidia conferences. GTC is next month. We're going to stream that live. We cover the FOMC decisions, press conference, Fed minutes reports, GDP, PCE data, payrolls, unemployment. We cover it all live as soon as it happens, and we get thousands of people tuning in so you can hang out with people and kind of hear a breakdown of what it all means economics wise as well as market wise. If you want a one-stop shop for that, hit the subscribe button because we do it live every day. And yeah, I appreciate it. Y'all hit that subscribe button. I need 250 subs to break 157,000 subscribers. And I appreciate the love. We're growing by thousands of subs a month. I appreciate it. Again, if you want to help support the channel, if you want to learn to day trade, like, look, every day trading guru is going to act like they're the greatest. They're going to try to sell you a course on mostly publicly available content. Most day traders lose. Doesn't matter what course you take, who you follow, who your guru is. Most day traders are about to lose. Doesn't matter. If they're honest with you, they'll tell you the same thing. And the ones that do make money, it takes years. And you have to condition yourself through repetition, like freaking Pavlov and the dogs. You got to do it over and over and over and over again. If you try to fund your own account while you're conditioning your skills, you're going to lose thousands of dollars, most likely. If you deposit 10, 20K, you're going to lose that, most likely, at least a lot of it. Instead, try a funded account program. In the futures market, I can day trade basically the SPY and QQQ price action, which is what they track. The SPY tracks the S&P futures contract called the E-mini. The QQQ tracks the NASDAQ futures contract called the NQ, and you can day trade those things in futures, no PDT rule. Top Step gives you a cheaper way to learn. They give you a 50K demo account. It's $49 a month. If you can make 3K in profit without losing 2K first, 2 to 3 reasonable ratio, they fund you 50K, 90% split. It's kind of like a souped up demo account. But if you fail, you're out $49. And even if you do fail, they have a practice account with real-time data that you can use afterwards to build your skill. Teaches you how to trade, teaches you how to follow rules. They've paid out almost $200 million. They're just one of the best ways to learn day trading without giving so much money to the market that you're just, hurting yourself. And so again, if you want to check them out, great way to help support the channel. They're an affiliate of mine. This is my second plug in a couple hours. So, cry me a river if you're mad I'm plugging something. But if you want to check it out, there's the link. Great way to help support the channel. Understand all these rules. I have no freaking idea what I'm talking about. I might be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. Do not copy me, because remember, I have no freaking idea what I'm talking about. Understand CFTC 4.41, not an investment professional. Nothing here is forward looking. Yeah, like people criticize places like Top Step, but it's like, dude, I know I lost 4 or 5 grand in like 3 weeks when I first got started trading. I thought I was going to be rich. I thought people were going to be like, dang, John, you're a genius, savant, day trader, bro. Instead, I just lost thousands of dollars, which is a very common story. And so limit your risk. Like, use a paper account or something like Top Step. Top Step's the most legit. That's the way to learn, But I'm biased. I get paid, so I have an incentive for you guys to buy it. But I'm honest about it, so. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sitting here out of the kindness of my heart. I'm here to make money, of course, like anybody in my shoes would be. And you shouldn't trust anybody if they pretend like they're here out of the kindness of their heart. Of course they're not. Anybody that tells you they are, immediately look at them with skeptical eyes. Anyways, Nvidia's starting to get back up here. The range is shocking, to be honest. The range from this earnings report is shocking for Nvidia. Nvidia, I look at like it's the freaking Super Bowl of the earnings reports. So for it to barely move at all here, and again, I mean, with that said, what is this? So it's $130 a share. So every $1.30 move is 1%. So yeah. So we're moving like 7% in like a 7% range here from Nvidia, just if I eyeballed the percentages correctly. But 7% is not nothing, don't get me wrong. But for Nvidia earnings, usually we just get more movement than this. We just generally get more movement than this. But hey. Yeah, Nvidia didn't move at all. It's kind of crazy how small it moved. But again, the earnings call is still we're still waiting for the earnings call in less than 15 minutes. So we still got that to watch. So we still got some time. Q is pretty flat too, honestly. And again, I think flat is still a win. What I didn't want to see today is Nvidia, for whatever reason, just dump down and have this big bear market that we've seen over the past couple weeks just continue from Nvidia's fear. Like that's something I did not want to see. And so, yeah, I mean, I think even if Nvidia stays flat, I think that's good. It's still early. I mean, sometimes these moves and the reactions to the earnings report happen over following 24 to 48 hours. And so we still got a little bit of time here. But yeah. The guidance was $43 billion for fiscal year next year, plus or minus 2%. They expected, I think, $42 billion plus or minus 2%, so it was within the realm of expected. It's more exciting than the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It depends on how much you like the Super Bowl. I like football. I'm more of a college football guy, though. I like LSU. I like watching them. I like watching, if I do watch the NFL, a lot of the time it has to do with like former college players like Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence. I watch those guys. Jalen Hurts on the Eagles. He was He played for Georgia, right? So all right, guys, we're at 131s. Ever tested your IQ? Yeah, go Tigers. Yeah, I got to test it when I was young. I'm not going to say what it was. It's been a long time, you know. Top 3 greatest IQ scores ever, though. But no, it was good. It was high. It was high-ish. It wasn't like crazy high, you know. Well, Hurts played for Bama, and he was like the backup, and then he left. I thought he went to Georgia. Let me see. Oh, it was Oklahoma, not Georgia. It was Oklahoma. Sorry, that's what I was trying to think of. It wasn't Georgia. It was Oklahoma. Yeah. Y'all are right. I don't know. IQ doesn't have much to do with education. It's mostly like when I took the test, it was like pattern recognition and logic. You know, it's not really like, you know, what date did the Declaration of Independence get signed. It was more so like predict the next outcome of this pattern. You know what I mean? Stuff like that is more IQ. And I'm not even saying IQ is a perfect science. I think people can be smart in a lot of different ways. In general, it's trying to test like how fast you think, you know. Yeah, a lot of people are talking about my hair's a little bit shorter, and so they say I look better with this short hair, I guess, is what y'all are saying. I don't know. A lot of people have told me that today for some reason. I got my hair cut, you know. What about China? I mean, China, obviously, DeepSeek, that's a big risk, you know, and because, like, okay, and I'm not even claiming to be smart. I'm not claiming to be anything, you know. People will, like, pull and twist and whatever they can online sometimes. I'm top 3 dumbest person ever. Don't copy me. But overseas, they basically came out with the DeepSeek AI model, and they essentially said that they were able to reach 90% of what the much more expensive and in-depth tested models could, like the production was 90% of what the previous ones were. So basically it was very comparable relative to like GPT and stuff like Chat GPT and stuff like that. So, but they said they were able to achieve that 90%, you know, comparability with much less chips, with much less big, expensive, powerful chips. So basically they said they found a way to do it without big chips, which would obviously be bad for Nvidia short term especially. But if this is true, and it's really hard to tell because it's hard to get access to DeepSeek. If it is true, it's going to be good for AI anyway. It's going to grow the AI sector as a whole, regardless of the short-term implications to Nvidia and chips. People are still going to need chips. They're still going to need big chips. It might make Nvidia pivot what they focus on in chips, you know, towards a more like economically priced things like that or something like that. Might make them pivot their focus, but Nvidia is still going to be fine regardless of DeepSeek and stuff like that. I think today's earnings call is really important though to listen to see if they talk about this at all. I doubt they will, but they could. Jensen Huang's supposed to speak, as well as like see what their plan is for the future. I think it's just it's an important earnings call. Early bull signals. Nvidia's back up. It's over the volume weighted average price. It's over the 200 exponential, and I have some resistance levels at 132. It's kind of confirmed that spot a couple different times. So if it can get over there and hold, maybe some optimism leading into the call. We'll see. Is there one? Free my grandma? I don't know, man. I like quantum. I think quantum makes sense. Basically, the logic behind quantum, I'm going to simplify it, but it basically, computers move in order. Like they're logical and they move in order. Like do this. Their processes go like do this, do this, do this, do this. And it happens so quickly, like it seems simultaneous to us because it happens so freaking fast. What quantum does in a way is that it allows computers to process things simultaneously, which obviously is going to make it much, much faster. If it can complete processes simultaneously, it can do a lot more for less, if that makes sense. And that's essentially what quantum computers are doing in a way. It's a little bit more complex than that, but again, I'm simplifying it. And so I believe they definitely can be the future. Like quantum and that type of computing, it certainly looks like it's going to be the future, but it's always subject to change. Like different technologies can sprout up and different things can happen that might kind of make that pivot a little bit. But at the same time, it's pretty likely quantum is the future. The only thing though is like we see quantum stocks, they're dumping down a little bit here. Look, they're at 649s for QUBT. Or no, it was IONQ, not QUBT. And this one's sympathy reacting to it, but IONQ reacted pretty negatively. They missed their EPS margins by a big amount. It was hundreds of percent miss. All right, guys, y'all ready? Yeah, so again, somebody's trying to talk to me about quantum. So traditionally they use bits. Quantum uses qubits, which can exist in what's called superposition, which is both 0 and 1 at the same time. It enables them to process complex computations much faster than classical computers because of that, right? But again, the superposition is what I mean by simultaneous. Again, it's a little bit more it's a little bit more deep, like it's a little bit more than that, but I'm trying to simplify it because, you know, it's super like obscure and hard to understand for most people. The only problem with quantum is the fragility of it. They're super fragile. But I think that'll get better. I think efficiency, necessity is the mother of invention. I think if they want them to be less fragile, they're going to find ways to fix that efficiency and kind of allow them to get better. And I think that's probably the future. All right, guys. Hey, we got 3.5 minutes. But again, I'm not a quantum expert, obviously. I'm sure there's some quantum guys that are going to pick apart everything I'm saying. And that's probably freaking true. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways, we got Nvidia earnings. We're going to stream the full call. It should be starting 3 minutes from now. I'm going to swap out my headphones here. Look at Nvidia, guys. Pop it up, though. It's at 130s here. So I'm going to mute the music. Or I'll mute the music in a second. Yeah, no, that's definitely happening. Taker says, do you think any other quantum computing stocks are being affected by IONQ? Yeah, it's called sympathy movement. If you look at the sector of quantum, they're all down, right? Like QUBT is another quantum stock. You can see it looks very, very, very similar. It's the same reason, like if you look at AMD or even like the broad market, like you look at QQQ, a tech-heavy ETF, it's going to look very, very similar to Nvidia. Why? Because the whole market is moving in sympathy with this right here. It's the biggest catalyst of the day, and it's driving everybody else. And so some traders are like seeing Nvidia dip and they're buying the Nasdaq here and all kind of stuff. So yeah, it's called sympathy movement, but the entire sector of quantum computing stocks are down because of IONQ specifically today. It's missed its EPS margins by a big amount, and the rest of the market's kind of negatively reacting to that. Yeah, Nvidia, tiny reaction here. It's kind of shocking how small the reaction was, but hey. All right, guys. Hey, we got... Here, I'm going to mute the music now because I have to, because we're going to listen to the earnings call pretty soon. So yeah, we'll leave this up like this, I guess. And again, we're just waiting. I got the music muted. And we're just going to sit tight and wait. Yeah, we'll see what the market does over the next 24 hours. Again, remember, subscribe if you haven't yet. Tomorrow we have GDP data. I think it's second revision. I think it's... Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, second revision GDP data is tomorrow. And so if you want to tune in, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. We're covering it at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And then Friday, we got the big inflation report at 8:30. Again, we're sitting here waiting. They haven't started the call yet. I'm not sure why.
My name is Krista, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. And if you would like to withdraw your question, again, press star 1. Thank you. Stuart Stecker, you may begin your conference.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to NVIDIA's conference call for the fourth quarter of fiscal 2025. With me today from NVIDIA are Jensen Huang, President and Chief Financial Officer. I'd like to remind you that our call is being webcast live on NVIDIA's Investor Relations website. The webcast will be available for replay until the conference call to discuss our financial results for the first quarter of fiscal 2026. The content of today's call is NVIDIA's property. It can't be reproduced or transcribed without prior written consent. During this call, we may make forward-looking statements based on current expectations. These are subject to a number of significant risks and uncertainties, and our actual results may differ materially. For discussion of factors that could affect our future financial results and business, please refer to the disclosure in today's earnings release, our most recent Forms 10-K and 10-Q, and the reports that we may file on Form 8-K with the Securities and Exchange Commission. All our statements are made as of today, February 26, 2025, based on information currently available to us. Except as required by law, we assume no obligation to update any such statements. During this call, we will discuss non-GAAP financial measures. You can find a reconciliation of these non-GAAP financial measures posted on our website. With that, let me turn the call over to Colette.
Thanks, Stuart. Q4 was another record quarter. Revenue of $39.3 billion was up 12% sequentially and up 78% year on year, and above our outlook of $37.5 billion. For fiscal 2025, revenue was $130.5 billion, up 114% from the prior year. Let's start with data center. Data center revenue for fiscal 2025 was $115.2 billion, more than doubling from the prior year. In the fourth quarter, data center revenue of $35.6 billion was a record, up 16% sequentially and 93% year-on-year, as the Blackwell ramp commenced and Hopper 200 continued sequential growth. In Q4, Blackwell sales exceeded our expectations. We delivered $11 billion of Blackwell revenue to meet strong demand. This is the fastest product ramp in our company's history, unprecedented in its speed and scale. Blackwell production is in full gear across multiple configurations, and we are increasing supply quickly to meet expanding customer adoption. Our Q4 data center compute revenue jumped 18% sequentially and over 2x year-on-year. Customers are racing to scale infrastructure to train the next generation of cutting-edge models and unlock the next level of AI capabilities. With Blackwell, it will be common for these clusters to start with 100,000 GPUs or more. Shipments have already started for multiple infrastructures of this size. Post-training and model customization are fueling demand for Nvidia infrastructure and software as developers and enterprises leverage techniques such as fine-tuning, reinforcement learning, and distillation to tailor models for domain-specific use cases. Hugging Face alone hosts over 90,000 derivatives created from the Llama Foundation model. The scale of post-training and model customization is massive and can collectively demand orders of magnitude more compute than pre-training. Our inference demand is accelerating, driven by test time scaling and new reasoning models like OpenAI's O3, DeepSeek R1, and Grok 3. Long-thinking reasoning AI can require 100x more compute per task compared to one-shot inferences. Blackwell was architected for reasoning AI inference. Blackwell supercharges reasoning AI models with up to 25x higher token throughput and 20x lower cost versus Hopper 100. It is revolutionary. Transformer Engine is built for LLM and mixture of experts inference. And its NVLink domain delivers 14x the throughput of PCIe Gen 5, ensuring the response time, throughput, and cost efficiency needed to tackle the growing complexity of inference at scale. Companies across industries are tapping into NVIDIA's full stack inference platform to boost performance and slash costs. Snap tripled inference throughput and cut costs by 66% using NVIDIA TensorRT for its screenshot feature. Perplexity sees 435 million monthly queries and reduced its inference costs 3x with NVIDIA Triton Inference Server and TensorRT LLM. Microsoft Bing achieved a 5x speedup and major TCO savings for visual search across billions of images with NVIDIA TensorRT and acceleration libraries. Blackwell has great demand for inference. Many of the early GB200 deployments are earmarked for inference, a first for a new architecture. Blackwell addresses the entire AI market from pre-training, post-training to inference across clouds to on-premise to enterprise. CUDA's programmable architecture accelerates every AI model and over 4,400 applications, ensuring large infrastructure investments against obsolescence in rapidly evolving markets. Our performance and pace of innovation is unmatched. We're driven to a 200x reduction in inference costs in just the last 2 years. We deliver the lowest TCO and the highest ROI. And full stack optimizations for NVIDIA and our large ecosystem, including 5.9 million developers, continuously improve our customers' economics. In Q4, large CSPs represented about half of our data center revenue, and these sales increased nearly 2x year-on-year. Large CSPs were some of the first to stand up Blackwell, with Azure, GCP, AWS, and OCI bringing GB200 systems to cloud regions around the world to meet surging customer demand for AI. Regional clouds hosting Nvidia GPUs increased as a percentage of data center revenue, reflecting continued AI factory buildouts globally and rapidly rising demand for AI reasoning models and agents. CoreWeave launched a 100,000 GB200 cluster-based instance with NVLink switch and Quantum 2 InfiniBand. Consumer internet revenue grew 3x year-on-year, driven by an expanding set of generative AI and deep learning use cases. These include recommender systems, vision language understanding, synthetic data generation search, and agentic AI. For example, xAI is adopting the GB200 to train and inference its next generation of Grok AI models. Meta's cutting-edge Andromeda advertising engine runs on Nvidia's Grace Hopper superchip, serving vast quantities of ads across Instagram, Facebook applications. Andromeda harnesses Grace Hopper's fast interconnect and large memory to boost inference throughput by 3x, enhance ad personalization, and deliver meaningful jumps in monetization and ROI. Enterprise revenue increased nearly 2x year on accelerating demand for model fine-tuning, RAG, and agentic AI workflows, and GPU accelerated data processing. We introduced Nvidia Llama Nematron model family NIMs to help developers create and deploy AI agents across a range of applications, including customer support, fraud detection, and product supply chain and inventory management. Leading AI agent platform providers, including SAP and ServiceNow, are among the first to use new models. Healthcare leaders IQVIA, Illumina, and Mayo Clinic, as well as Arc Institute, are using NVIDIA AI to speed drug discovery, enhance genomic research, and pioneer advanced healthcare services with generative and agentic AI. As AI expands beyond the digital world, NVIDIA infrastructure and software platforms are increasingly being adopted to power robotics and physical AI development. One of the early and largest robotics applications in autonomous vehicles, where virtually every AV company is developing on NVIDIA in the data center, the car, or both. NVIDIA's automotive vertical revenue is expected to grow to approximately $5 billion this fiscal year. At CES, Hyundai Motor Group announced it is adopting NVIDIA technologies to accelerate AV and robotics development and smart factory initiatives. Vision transformers, self-supervised learning, multimodal sensor fusion, and high-fidelity simulation are driving breakthroughs in AV development and will require 10x more compute. At CES, we announced the NVIDIA Cosmo World Foundation Model Platform. Just as language foundation models have revolutionized language AI, Cosmos is a physical AI to revolutionize robotics. Leading robotics and automotive companies, including ride-sharing giant Uber, are among the first to adopt the platform. From a geographic perspective, sequential growth in our data center revenue was strongest in the U.S., driven by the initial ramp of Blackwell. Countries across the globe are building their AI ecosystems, and demand for compute infrastructure is surging. France's 200 billion euro AI investment and the EU's 200 billion euro Invest AI initiative offer a glimpse into the build-out to set redefined global AI infrastructure in the coming years. Now, as a percentage of total data center revenue, Data center sales in China remained well below levels seen on the onset of export controls. Absent any change in regulations, we believe that China's shipments will remain roughly at the current percentage. The market in China for data center solutions remains very competitive. We will continue to comply with export controls while serving our customers. Networking revenue declined 3% sequentially. Our networking attached to GPU compute systems is robust at over 75%. We are transitioning from small NVLink 8 with InfiniBand to large NVLink 72 with Spectrum-X. Spectrum-X and NVLink switch revenue increased and represents a major new growth sector. We expect networking to return to growth in Q1. AI requires a new class of networking. Nvidia offers NVLink switch systems for scale-up compute. For scale-out, we offer Quantum InfiniBand for HPC supercomputers and Spectrum-X for Ethernet environments. Spectrum-X enhances the Ethernet for AI computing and has been a huge success. Microsoft Azure, OCI, CoreWeave, and others are building large AI factories with Spectrum-X. The first Stargate data centers will use Spectrum-X. Yesterday, Cisco announced integrating Spectrum-X into their networking portfolio to help enterprises build AI infrastructure. With its large enterprise footprint and global reach, Cisco will bring Nvidia Ethernet to every industry. Now moving to gaming and AI PCs. Gaming revenue of $2.5 billion decreased 22% sequentially and 11% year-on-year. Full year revenue of $11.4 billion increased 9% year-on-year, and demand remained strong throughout the holiday. However, Q4 shipments were impacted by supply constraints. We expect strong sequential growth in Q1 as supply increases. The new GeForce RTX 50 series desktop and laptop GPUs are here. Built for gamers, creators, and developers, they fuse AI and graphics, redefining visual computing. Powered by the Blackwell architecture, 5th generation Tensor cores, and 4th generation RT cores, and featuring up to 3,400 AI TOPS. These GPUs deliver a 2x performance leap and new AI-driven rendering, including neural shaders, digital human technologies, geometry, and lighting. The new DLSS 4 boosts frame rates up to 8x with AI-driven frame generation, turning one rendered frame into 3. It also features the industry's first real-time application of transformer models, packing 2x more parameters and 4x the compute for unprecedented visual fidelity. We also announced a wave of GeForce Blackwell laptop GPUs with new Nvidia Max-Q technology that extends battery life by up to an incredible 40%. These laptops will be available starting in March from the world's top manufacturers. Moving to our professional visualization business. Revenue of $511 million was up 5% sequentially and 10% year-on-year. Full year revenue of $1.9 billion increased 21% year-on-year. Key industry verticals driving demand include automotive and healthcare. Nvidia technologies and generative AI are reshaping design, engineering, and simulation workloads. Increasingly, these technologies are being leveraged in leading software platforms from Ansys, Cadence, and Siemens, fueling demand for Nvidia RTX workstations. Now moving to automotive, up 27% sequentially and up 103% year-on-year. Full year revenue of $1.6 growth was driven by the continued ramp in autonomous vehicles, including cars and robotaxis. At CES, we announced Toyota, the world's largest automaker, will build its next generation vehicles on Nvidia Orin, running the safety-certified Nvidia Drive OS. We announced Aurora and Continental will deploy driverless trucks at scale powered by Nvidia Drive Thor. Finally, our end-to-end autonomous vehicle platform, Nvidia Drive Hyperion, has passed industry safety assessments by TÜV and TÜV Rheinland safety and cybersecurity. Nvidia is the first AV platform to receive a comprehensive set of the rest of the P&L. GAAP gross margins was 73%, and non-GAAP gross margins was 73%. First deliveries of the Blackwell architecture. As discussed last quarter, Blackwell is a customizable AI infrastructure with several different types of NVIDIA build chips, multiple networking options, and for air and liquid-cooled data center. We exceeded our expectations in Q4 in ramping Blackwell, increasing system availability, providing several configurations to our customers. As Blackwell ramps, low 70s. We are focused on demand as they race to build out Blackwell infrastructure. When fully ramped, we have many opportunities to improve the cost, and gross margin will improve and return to the mid-70s late this fiscal year. And non-GAAP operating expenses were 11%, reflecting higher engineering development costs and higher compute and infrastructure costs for new product introductions. In Q4, we returned $8.1 billion to shareholders in the form of share repurchases and cash dividends. Let me turn to the outlook in the first quarter. Total revenue is expected to be $43 billion, plus or minus 2%. Continuing with its strong demand, we expect a significant ramp of Blackwell in Q1. We expect sequential data center. We expect sequential growth from both compute and networking. GAAP and non-GAAP gross margins are expected to be 70.6% and 71%, respectively, plus or minus 50 basis points. GAAP and non-GAAP operating expenses are expected to be approximately $5.2 billion and $3.6 billion, respectively. We expect full year, fiscal year 26 operating expenses to be in the mid-30s. GAAP and non-GAAP other incoming expenses are expected to be an income of losses from non-marketable and publicly held equity securities. GAAP and non-GAAP tax rates are expected to be 17% plus or minus 1%, excluding any discrete items. Further financial details are included on the website, including a new financial information AI agent. In closing, let me highlight upcoming events for the financial community. We will be at the TD Cowen Healthcare Conference in Boston on March 3rd, and at the Morgan Stanley Technology, Media, and Telecom Conference in San Francisco on March 5th. Please join us for our annual GTC conference starting Monday, March 17th in San Jose, California. Jensen will deliver a news-packed keynote on March 18th, and we will host a Q&A session for our financial analysts the next day, March 19th. We look forward to seeing you at these events. Our earnings call to discuss the results for our first quarter of fiscal 2026 is scheduled for May 28th. I'm going to open up the call, operator, to questions. If you could start that, that would be great.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. I also ask that you please limit yourself to one question. For any additional questions, please re-queue. And your first question comes from CJ Muse with Cantor Fitzgerald. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for taking the question. I guess for me, Jensen, as test time compute and reinforcement learning show such promise, we're clear. What does this mean for the potential future of potentially inference dedicated clusters? And how do you think about the overall impact to Nvidia and your customers? Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, CJ. There are now multiple scaling laws. And that's going to continue to scale because we have multimodality. We have data that came from reasoning that are now used to do pre-training. And then the second is post-training scaling law, using reinforcement learning human feedback, reinforcement learning AI feedback, reinforcement learning verifiable rewards. The amount of computation you use for post-training is actually higher than pre-training. And it's kind of generate an enormous amount of synthetic data or synthetically generated tokens. AI models are basically generating tokens to train AI models. And that's post-training. And the third part, this is the part that you mentioned, is test time compute or reasoning, long thinking, inference scaling. They're all basically the same ideas. And there you have chain of thought, you have search. Tokens generated, the amount of inference compute needed is already 100 times more than the one-shot examples and the one-shot capabilities of large language models in the beginning. And that's just the beginning. This is just the beginning. The idea that the next generation could have thousands times and even hopefully extremely thoughtful and simulation-based and search-based models that could be hundreds of thousands, millions of times more compute than today is in our future. And so the question is, how do you design such an architecture? Some of the models are auto-regressive. Some of the models at the time disaggregated inference. Sometimes it's compacted, and so it's hard to figure out what is the best configuration of a data center, which is the reason why NVIDIA's architecture is so popular. We run every model. We are great at training. The vast majority of our compute today is actually inference. And Blackwell takes all of that to a new level. We designed Blackwell with the idea of reasoning models in mind. And when you look at training, it's many times more performant. But what's really amazing is for long thinking, test time scaling, reasoning AI models were tens of times faster, 25 times higher throughput. And so Blackwell is going to be incredible across the board. And when you have a data center that allows you to configure and use your data center based on, are you doing more pre-training now, post-training now, or scaling out your inference, our architecture is fungible and easy to use in all of those different ways. And so we're seeing, in fact, much, much more concentration of a unified architecture than ever before.
Your next question comes from the line of Joe Moore with JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Morgan Stanley, actually. Thank you. I wonder if you could talk about GB200 at CES. You sort of talked about the complexity of the rack level systems and the challenges you have. And then, as you said in the prepared remarks, we've seen a lot of general availability. Where are you in terms of that ramp? Are there still bottlenecks to consider at a systems level above and beyond the chip level? And just, have you maintained your enthusiasm for the NVL72 platforms?
Well, I'm more enthusiastic today than I was at CES. And the reason for that is because we've shipped a lot more since CES. We have some 350 plants manufacturing the 1.5 million components that go into each one of the Blackwell racks, Grace Blackwell racks. Yes, it's extremely complicated, and we successfully and incredibly ramped up Grace Blackwell, delivering some $11 billion in revenues last quarter. We're going to have to continue to scale as demand is quite high and customers are anxious and impatient to get their Blackwell systems. You've probably seen on the web a fair number of celebrations about Grace Blackwell systems coming online, and our own engineering and our own design teams and software teams. CoreWeave has now been quite public about the successful bring up of theirs. Microsoft has, of course, OpenAI has, and you're starting to see many come online. And so I think the answer to your question is nothing is easy about what we're doing, but we're doing great, and all of our partners are doing great.
Your next question.
Thank you.
Let me first take the first part of the question there regarding the gross margin. During our Blackwell ramp, our gross margins will be in the low 70s. At this point, we are focusing on expediting our manufacturing to make sure that we can provide to customers as soon as possible. Our Blackwell has fully ramped, and once our Blackwell fully ramps, we can improve our cost and our gross margin. So we expect to probably be in the mid-70s later this year. Walking through what you heard Jensen speak about the systems and their complexity. They are customizable in some cases. They've got multiple networking options. They have liquid cooled and water cooled. So we know there is an opportunity for us to improve these gross margins going forward. But right now, we are going to focus on getting the manufacturing complete and to our customers as soon as possible.
We know several things, Vivek. We have a fairly good line of sight of the amount of capital investment that data centers are building out towards. We know that going forward, the vast majority of software is going to be based on machine learning. And so accelerated computing and generative AI, reasoning AI, are going to be the type of architecture you want in your data center. We have, of course, forecasts and plans from our top partners. And we also know that there are many innovative, really exciting startups that are still coming online as new opportunities for developing the next breakthroughs in AI, whether it's agentic AIs, reasoning AIs, or physical AIs. The number of startups are still quite vibrant, and each one of them need a fair amount of computing infrastructure. And so I think the whether it's the near-term signals or the midterm signals, near-term signals, of course, are POs and forecasts and things like that. Midterm signals would be the level of infrastructure and CapEx scale-out compared to previous years. And then the long-term signals has to do with the fact that we know fundamentally software has changed. from hand coding that runs on CPUs to machine learning and AI-based software that runs on GPUs and accelerated computing systems. And so we have a fairly good sense that this is the future of software. And then maybe as you roll it out, another way to think about that is we've really only tapped consumer AI and search and some amount of consumer generative AI, advertising, recommenders, kind of the early days of software. The next wave's coming. Agentic AI for enterprise, physical AI for robotics, and sovereign AI as different regions build out their AI for their own ecosystems. And so each one of these are barely off the ground, and we can see them. We can see them because, obviously we're in the center of much of this development, and we can see great activity happening in all these different places, and these will happen. So near term, midterm, long term.
Your next question comes from the line of Harlan Sur with JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for taking my question. Your next generation Blackwell Ultra is set to launch in the second half of this year, in line with the team's annual product cadence. Jensen, can you help us understand the demand dynamics for Ultra, given that you'll still be ramping the current generation Blackwell solutions? How do your customers and the supply chain also manage the simultaneous ramps of these two products? And is the team still on track to execute Blackwell Ultra in the second half of this year?
Yes. Blackwell Ultra is second half. As you know, the first Blackwell was, we had a hiccup that probably cost us a couple of months. We're fully recovered, of course. The team did an amazing job recovering, and all of our supply chain partners and just so many people helped us recover at the speed of light. And so now we've successfully ramped production of Blackwell. But that doesn't stop the next train. The next train is on an annual rhythm, and Blackwell Ultra with new networking, new memories, and of course new processors, and all of that is coming online. We've been working with all of our partners and customers, laying this out. They have all of the necessary information, and we'll work with everybody to do the proper transition. This time between Blackwell and Blackwell Ultra, the system architecture is exactly the same. It's a lot harder going from Hopper to Blackwell because we went from an NVLink 8 system to a NVLink 72 base system. So the chassis, the architecture of the system, the hardware, the power delivery, all of that had to change. This was quite a challenging transition. But the next transition will slot right in. Blackwell Ultra will slot right in. We've also already revealed and been working very closely with all of our partners on the click after that. And the click after that is called Vera Rubin. And all of our partners are getting up to speed on the transition of that. And so preparing for that transition. And again, we're going to provide a big, huge step up. And so come to GTC, and I'll talk to you about Blackwell Ultra, Vera Rubin, and then show you what's the one click after that. Really exciting new product. So come to GTC, please.
Your next question comes from the line of Timothy Arcuri with UBS. Please go ahead.
Thanks a lot. Jensen, we hear a lot about custom ASICs. Can you kind of speak to the balance between custom ASIC and merchant GPU? We hear about some of these heterogeneous superclusters to use both GPU and ASIC. Is that something customers are planning on building, or will these infrastructures remain fairly distinct? Thanks.
Well, we build very different things than ASICs. In some ways, completely different. In some areas, we intersect. We're different in several ways. One, NVIDIA's architecture is general. Whether you've optimized for autoregressive models or diffusion-based models or vision-based models or multimodal models or text models. We're great at all of it. We're great at all of it because our software stack is our architecture is flexible, our software stack ecosystem is so rich that we're the initial target of most exciting innovations in algorithms. And so by definition, we're much, much more general than narrow. We're also really good from the end to end, from data processing, the curation of the training data, to the training of the data, of course, to reinforcement learning used in post-training, all the way to inference with test time scaling. So we're general, we're end to end, and we're everywhere. And because we're not in just one cloud, we're in every cloud. We could be on-prem, we could be in a robot. Our architecture is much more accessible and a great initial target for anybody who's starting up a new company. And so we're everywhere. And then the third thing I would say is that our performance and our rhythm is so incredibly fast. Remember that these data centers are always fixed in size. They're fixed in size or they're fixed in power. And if our performance per watt is anywhere from 2x to 4x to 8x, which is not unusual, it translates directly to revenues. And so if you have a 100 megawatt data center, if the performance or the throughput in that 100 megawatt or that gigawatt data center is 4 times or 8 times higher, your revenues for that gigawatt data center is 8 times higher. And the reason that is so different than data centers of the past is because AI factories are directly monetizable through its tokens generated. And so the token throughput of our architecture being so incredibly fast is just incredibly valuable to all of the companies that are building these things for revenue generation reasons and capturing the fast ROIs. And so I think the third reason is performance. And then the last thing that I would say is the software is no different than what we do. We have to build a new architecture, and the ecosystem that sits on top of our architecture and that's fairly obvious because the amount of software that the world is building on top of our architecture is growing exponentially, and AI is advancing very quickly. So bringing that whole ecosystem on top of multiple chips is hard. And so I would just because the chip is designed doesn't mean it gets deployed. And you've seen this, over and over again. There are a lot of chips that gets built, but when the time comes, a business decision has to be made. And that business decision processor into a limited AI factory in size, in power, and in time. And our technology is not only more advanced, more performant software capability, and very importantly, our ability to deploy is lightning fast. And so these things are not for the faint of heart, as everybody knows now. And so there's a lot of different reasons why we do well.
Question comes from the line of Ben Reitz with Melius Research. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Ben Reitz is here. Hey, thanks a lot for the question. Hey, Jensen, it's a geography-related question. You did a great job explaining some of the demand underlying, factors here on the strength. But U.S. was up about $5 billion or so sequentially. And I think, there is a concern about whether U.S. can pick up the slack if there's as we go throughout the year, if this kind of surge in the U.S. continues and it's going to be whether that's okay, and if that underlies your growth rate, how can you keep growing so fast with this mix shift towards the U.S.? Your guidance looks like China is probably up sequentially. So just wondering if you.
China is approximately the same percentage as Q4 and as previous quarters. It's about half of what it was before the export. With respect to geographies, the takeaway is that AI is software. It's modern software. It's incredible modern software, but it's modern software. And AI has gone services everywhere, shopping services everywhere. And if you were to buy, a quart of milk is delivered to you, AI was involved. And so almost everything that a consumer service provides, every student will use AI as a tutor. Healthcare services use AI. Financial services use AI. No fintech company will not use AI. Every fintech company will. Uses AI. The number of every higher education, every university uses AI. And so I think it is fairly safe to say that AI has gone mainstream and that it's being integrated into every application. And our hope is that of course the technology continues to advance safely and advance in a helpful way to society. And with that, we're I do believe that we're at the beginning of this new transition. And what I mean by that in the beginning is remember, behind us has been decades been built for a world of hand coding and general purpose computing and CPUs and so on and so forth. And going forward, I think it's fairly safe to say that world is going to be almost all software will be infused with AI. Based on machine learning, and the data flywheel is going to be part of improving software and services, and that the future computers will be accelerated. The future computers will be based on AI. And we're really at 2 years into that journey. And in modernizing computers that have taken decades to build out. And so I'm fairly sure that we're in the beginning of this new era. And then lastly, a larger part of the world's GDP than AI. No software tool ever has. And so this is now a software tool that can address. We think about whether something is big or small, it has to be in the context of that. And when you take a step back and look at it from that perspective, we're really just in the beginnings.
Your next question comes from the line of Aaron Rakers with Wells Fargo. Please go ahead. Aaron, your line is open. Your next question comes from Mark Lipacis with Evercore ISI. Please go ahead.
Hi, that's Mark Lipacis. Thanks for taking the question. I had a clarification and a question. Colette, for the clarification, did you say that enterprise within the data center grew 2x year-on-year for the January quarter? And if so, would that make it faster growing than the hyperscalers? And then Jensen, for you, the question, hyperscalers are the biggest purchasers of your solutions, but they buy equipment for both internal and external workloads, external workloads being cloud services that enterprises use. So the question is, can you give us a sense of how that hyperscaler spend splits between that external workload and internal? And as these new AI workloads and applications come up, would you expect enterprises to become a larger part of that consumption mix? And does that impact how you develop your service, your ecosystem? Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for the question regarding our enterprise business. Yes, it grew 2x and very similar to what we were seeing with our large CSPs. Keep in mind, these are both important areas to understand. Working with the CSPs can be working on large language models, can be working on inference in their own work, but keep in mind that is also where the enterprises are surfacing. Your enterprises are both with your CSPs as well as in terms of building on their own. They're both correct, growing quite well.
The CSPs are about half of our business. And the CSPs have internal consumption and external consumption, as you say. And we're of course, used for internal consumption. We work very closely with all of them to optimize workloads that are internal to them because they have a large infrastructure of Nvidia gear that they could take advantage of. And the fact that we could be used for AI on the one hand, video processing on the other hand, data processing like Spark, we're fungible. And so the useful life of our infrastructure is much better. If the useful life is much longer, then the TCO is also lower. And so the second part is how do we see the growth of enterprise or not CSPs, if you will, going forward? And the answer is, I believe long term, it is by far larger. And the reason for that is because if you look at the computer industry today, and what is not served by the computer industry is largely industrial. So let me give you an example. When we say enterprise, and let's use a car company as an example because they make both soft things and hard things. And so in the case of a car company, the employees would be what we call enterprise. And agentic AI and software planning systems and tools, and we have some really exciting things to share with you guys at GTC. Those agentic systems are for employees, to make employees more productive, to design, to market, to plan, to operate their company. That's agentic AIs. On the other hand, the cars that they manufacture also need AI. They need an AI system that trains the cars, treats this entire giant fleet of cars. And, today, there's a billion cars on the road. Someday, there'll be a billion cars on the road, and every single one of those cars will be robotic cars. And they'll all be collecting data, and we'll be improving them using an AI factory. Whereas they have a car factory today, in the future, they'll have a car factory and an AI factory. And then inside the car itself is a robotic system. And so, as you can see, there are three computers involved. And there's the computer that helps the people. There's the computer that builds the AI for the machineries. It could be, of course, it could be a tractor. It could be a lawnmower. It could be a humanoid robot that's being developed today. It could be a building. It could be a warehouse. These physical systems require a new type of AI we call physical AI. They can't just understand the friction and inertia, object permanence and cause and effect, and all of those type of things that are common sense to you and I, but AIs have to go learn those physical effects. So we call that physical AI. That whole AI to revolutionize the way we work inside companies, that's just starting. This is now the beginning of the agentic AI. We've got some really great things going on. And then there's the physical AI after that, and then there are robotic systems after that. And so these three computers are all brand new. And my sense is that long term, this will be by far the larger of them all, which kind of makes sense. The represented by either heavy industries or industrials. and companies that are providing for those.
Your next question comes from the line of Aaron Rakers with Wells Fargo. Please go ahead.
I'm curious, as we now approach the 2-year anniversary of really the Hopper inflection that you saw in 2023 in Gen AI in general, and we think about the roadmap you have in front of us, how do you think about the infrastructure that's been deployed from a replacement cycle perspective, and whether, if it's GB300 or if it's the Rubin cycle where we start to see maybe some refresh opportunity? I'm just curious of how you look at that.
Still using volts and pascals and amperes. And the reason for that is because there are always things that, because CUDA is so programmable, you could use it right. Well, one of the major use cases right now is data processing and circumstance that an AI model is not very good at. You present that circumstance to a vision language model, let's say it's a car. You present that circumstance to a vision language model. The vision language model actually looks at the circumstance and says, I'm very good at it. You then take that response, the prompt, and you go and prompt an AI model to go find in your whole lake of data other circumstances like that, whatever that circumstance was. And then generate a whole bunch of other examples, and then from that you can go train the model. And so you could use the amperes to go and do data processing and data curation and machine learning, the training data set, which you then present to your Hopper systems for training. And so each one of these architectures are completely, they're all CUDA compatible, and so everything runs on everything. But if you have infrastructure in place, then you can put the less intensive workloads onto the install base of the past. All of our GPUs are very.
We have time for one more question, and that question comes from Atif Malik with Citi. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I have a follow-up question on gross margins for Colette. Colette, I understand there are many moving parts, the Blackwell yields and NVLink 72 and Ethernet mix, and you kind of tiptoed the earlier question if April quarter is the bottom to the mid-70s range that you're giving for the end of the fiscal year, and we still don't know much about tariffs impact to broader semiconductors. So what kind of gives you the confidence in that trajectory in the back half this year?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Our gross margins, they're quite complex in terms of the material and everything that we put together in a Blackwell system. Tremendous amount of opportunity to look at a lot of different pieces of that on how we can better configurations as well on Blackwell that will be able to help us do that. So together, working after we get some of these really strong ramping completed for our customers, we can begin a lot of that work. If not, we're going to probably start as soon as possible if we can. And if we can improve it in the short term, we will also do that. Tariffs, at this point, it's a little bit of an unknown. It's an unknown until we understand further what the U.S. government's plan is, both its timing, its where, are awaiting. But again, we would, of course, always follow export controls and/or tariffs in that manner.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our question and answer session. I'm sorry.
Thank you. No.
And we're gonna open up to Jensen, and I believe he has a couple things.
I just wanted to thank you. Thank you, Colette. is evolving beyond perception and generative AI into reasoning. With reasoning AI, we're observing another scaling law, inference time or test time scaling. The more computation, the more the model thinks. Grok 3, DeepSeek R1 are reasoning models that apply inference time scaling. Reasoning models can consume 100 times more compute. Future reasoning models can consume much more compute. DeepSeek R1 has ignited global enthusiasm. It's an excellent innovation, but even more importantly, it has open sourced a world-class reasoning AI model. Nearly every AI developer is applying R1 or chain of thought and reinforcement learning techniques like R1. We have three scaling laws, as I mentioned earlier, driving the demand for AI computing. The traditional scaling laws of AI remains intact. Foundation models are being enhanced with multimodality, and pre-training is still growing. But it's no longer enough. We have two additional scaling dimensions. Post-training scaling, where reinforcement learning, fine-tuning, model distillation require orders of magnitude more compute than pre-training alone. Inference time demand 100 times more compute. We designed Blackwell for this moment, a single platform that can easily transition from pre-training, post-training, and test time scaling. Blackwell's FP4 transformer engine and NVLink 72 scale-up fabric and new software technologies let Blackwell process reasoning AI models 25 times faster than is in full production. Each Grace Blackwell NVLink 72 rack is an engineering marvel. 1.5 million components produced across 350 manufacturing sites by nearly 100,000 factory operators. AI is advancing at light speed. We're at the beginning of reasoning AI and inference time scaling. But we're just at the start of the age of AI. Multimodal AIs, enterprise AI, sovereign AI, and physical AI are right around the corner. We will grow strongly in 2025. Going forward, data centers will dedicate most of CapEx to accelerated computing and AI. Data centers will increasingly become AI factories, and every company will have them, either rented or self-operated. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Come join us at GTC in a couple of weeks. We're going to new computing, networking, reasoning AI, physical AI products, and a whole bunch more. Thank you.
This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.
Okay, guys. Honestly, number one, I'm sorry that my computer, I don't know what this was. I tried switching browsers. It didn't work. I tried using a couple different things. I'm going to have to kind of research this. You guys, you know I'm usually on point with everything. And what's weird is that it doesn't happen during, like, Jerome Powell press conferences or anything like that. It seems to only happen during earnings calls. And I don't know if, like, other people are just delaying the stream a little bit, starting like 30 seconds late so that the latency doesn't get overpowered with these big calls like Nvidia. That's what I'm guessing is going on, and I'm trying to watch it live when everybody else is kind of slightly delayed. But I'll figure out what it is. Yeah, I mean, nothing really happened. Nvidia's kind of dipping down some now. I mean, you guys know me. I've kind of strayed away. Like, I cover the earnings call occasionally. I mostly cover the earnings reaction and economic reports. And so earnings calls are something that, like, I still cover for you guys because I know some people still want it. But it's definitely not, like, my main content. How How do we know it's on their end? I don't know if it is or not. I know you can hear me. What I'm saying is, like, I think, again, I don't know if mine is lagging or what it is, but, like, my internet's running fine. It's very strange. I'm trying to figure out what's cutting it. Like, what is cutting? The only thing I can really think is that these earnings calls are overpowered with people watching them. On which Discord, Adina? Okay, so it wasn't just me? See, so this is what it is. So when you watch an earnings call from a company, they use, what do they use? They use Q4. Or no, let me see what they use. They use, go away, stop. It's gonna force. Okay, hold on. Let me get out of this. So yeah, if I watch a company's earnings call, they use. I'm trying to see who they use. They use some type of software. Okay, so it wasn't just me. The stream was like every place I checked. Okay, it was on their end. Okay, good. Honestly, because I was panicking. I was like, man, dude, maybe my stream is just... Cause I'm like over there like telling Jack, like, hey, get off the freaking internet, bro. At least it wasn't just me. Yeah, Nvidia dipping down a little bit. Again, Q is down. Here's IONQ. Yeah, go ahead.
I can use it?
Yeah.
All right, love you, Daddy.
Love you, buddy. Yeah, so I even told my son to get off the internet because... I don't know what. IONQ bouncing back a little bit. Let's take a look at Snow. Snow is up to 182s. Let's take a look at Salesforce. Salesforce is still dipping down. Again, kind of a nothing earnings report, dude. Say sorry to Jack. Bro, that Xbox is paid for with money I get from running these streams and stuff. So Jack will have to be okay. I'm not going to apologize to him for the TV I bought him using the internet I pay for using the Xbox that I bought him. You know, I love him. He's a good kid, but I'm not going to apologize. Yeah, it was just kind of boring. Nothing was really going on. Bitcoin is extremely oversold. Is it really? Yeah, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I don't think there's really any people that are really crushing me. Some people might do better on earnings than I do, but I think, like, when you consider it's just me and economic reports like Jerome Powell meetings, I think for just me, I beat a lot of the networks and you know, views and interests. So press ups. Dude, I'm tired, bro. I trained jiu-jitsu already today. Hey, I'm going to get out of here. Listen, I love you all. Y'all have a great day. Again, if you want to check out one of my sponsors, check out TopStep. Great way to learn how to day trade. Most day traders lose. If you want to limit your risk and you know, try to like pass a test for funding, and if you fail, it's not the end of the world. It teaches you how to trade. You got to learn to follow rules, all that good stuff. The futures market, no PDT rule. You can day trade the S&P, the Dow, the NASDAQ, gold, some currencies. Patterns are very similar to blue chip stock patterns. I have no freaking idea what I'm talking about. Might be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. Here's the link if you want to check it out. And yeah, listen, tomorrow GDP data goes live, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're going to stream that live as we always do. So just be ready for that, guys. That's a big release, a big report. I'll see you guys then. Y'all be good. Have a great day.